Hello and welcome. Excuse me, don't interrupt.
Welcome to a supersized episode, apparently, or so I've been told, because we've both got lengthy stories, and this is where a lot of you usually appreciate where we say, if you're on a road trip right now, you are in luck today because you get an extra long episode.
If you're mopping the floors and you're not good at mopping,
then if you chose to do a deep clean today.
Yeah. I will say we also have some fun things to say beforehand.
Yes.
So we're at episode 198. I finally got the number before we started.
Finally. It only took 198 episodes.
Yeah, I watched that be wrong and I still haven't gotten it. But like pretty sure it's 198, which means we're very scarily close to 200.
It's wild. It's bananas, dare I say.
Yeah, so we're almost there. We do have something planned. I know some people are anxious for us, which I appreciate. But we do have a little something planned, so keep an eye out for that. And then we found out that like the week after is our 50th ever listeners episode.
Yeah, it all pooled together very nicely. So
yeah, very weird.
This is a month of celebrations, some might say.
Yes. Well, technically next month, but
okay. Well, you know what?
That's okay.
It's what I say. No one else has to say it. It's just me.
Right. Again, time is irrelevant in this 2020 timeline we're living in. Also, I guess it's December, not now, but when our 200th episode comes out, it'll be December, and that means it's the last month of 2020. So I guess that's also something to celebrate.
It's the kiss of death to this year. Just get out of here.
We would just have like a fucking bonanza on the kiss of death and just make it about ourselves. We tend to do that.
It's called the chef's kiss of death is what I like to call it.
Yeah, Em and Christine's chef's kiss of death that they just decided was suddenly about themselves. Mm-hmm. But because of the 50th episode, we're doing like a special theme that we already came up with for the first time we actually came up with a theme in advance. So that's new. And we told patrons about it already to get like a head start, but we're going to announce that theme, I think, soon as well.
Yes.
I don't know if we're announcing that yet or not.
Maybe next episode. Maybe next episode.
Okay, next week.
Okay.
Because we found out this is the last episode before Thanksgiving, we're actually doing a Black Friday sale on our merch.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow. I'm so glad you wrote all this down. Christine,
I did.
Christine texted me before and said, these are all the things we need to discuss. And I don't have my phone on me, so it's all up to Christine anyway. But I appreciate you being so on top of it today.
I wrote it and then I spilled juice on it. So it's hard to read, but it does say Black Friday. And patrons have had a promo code, but for a couple days, we're going to give everyone a promo code, or not promo code, but discounted on the website.
Sure.
And that's atwwdmerch.com. And I think there's an even bigger discount on like our older merch, like tour stuff. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So just go there and you'll find out the details. So yeah, I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, it's super fun.
And then the last thing that I just want to announce, because this is like the most exciting thing ever. Not really, but for me it is. That Xenon, M's protege, finally has her own newsletter.
She sure does. It's her gossip tabloid, if you will.
Her gossip column was turned into. So I feel like from the moment Xenon was born, she decided she needed her own branded newsletter, and we gave it to her.
We knew she was like destined for PR in some way. Like she's all about it. So we have a newsletter. You can sign up on our website. There should be
it's Patreon.
Yes. Sorry,
it's a Patreon newsletter. We do have a regular newsletter that's also amazing,
which you can find on our website. A pop-up will show up. Yikes, Christine.
Yes. It's good. I have juice covered news, so I can read it to you from the juice covered news.
I appreciate it. Well, this would be a good time to announce something I am very excited about, and also people can already probably tell. So Christine already knows about this, but I'm very excited to announce that I have officially been diagnosed with ADHD, and I am so happy. I am so happy because something's always felt off. And then throughout this last year, I know in many episodes I've been talking about how I, felt like it was the real deal, and it was really hard to get diagnosed, and it was really hard to find someone who would like listen to me and like help me. And I finally found someone, and I'm trying medication, and one of the side effects is having a foggy brain. So that's why that's why I'm going to sound a lot more confused than normal. But
until you sound a lot less confused than
until
normal.
all of a sudden the medicine works. Yes. So
yeah.
But no, so I want to apologize because all of the side effects I've read online, most of them have already kicked in, including dry mouth and drowsiness. So I will be chugging a lot of water and yawning more than ever today. So, but it's not you, it's me finally.
Well, I'm very proud of you, very happy for you. This is a long time coming, and we are very pro mental health awareness and medication if you need it.
Yes.
And so I'm just very, very proud of you and happy.
Thank you. I feel like I'm the only person who's like ecstatic that I got diagnosed with like
an
attention disorder.
Not.
But I've known for so long that something was going on, and it's just, honestly, I already told this to Christine, but thank God for TikTok, because that's how I realized something was up. And like, I knew there was things, I think I just kind of ignored my own symptoms for so long because I never thought anything was going on. And then through TikTok, my algorithm just got me to ADHD TikTok. And then I spent a long time going through just about any video hashtagged about ADHD and realizing all these symptoms were things that other people were experiencing. So if one good thing came out of this quarantine, it's that I discovered TikTok and was able to diagnose myself and get help. So
I'm so proud of you. Yay. Let's all clap for Em.
Yay.
Snaps. What is it again? Snaps for insults, or I don't know, whatever.
Snaps for medication. Snaps for foggy brain.
Yes.
Anyway, that's my big update, but it's an update.
That's a huge one.
Very excited to share.
I didn't have that in my juice list, so I'm glad that you did.
Look, together we have it all. So
together we have a portion of it, I think.
We've got 1%.
Yes, but so anyway, I just want to also throw out, so if anybody was confused by that at all, Xenon Gazette is on Patreon.
Yes.
Speaking of ADHD.
The Xenon newsletter is specifically for Patreon.
Just in case people want to know. But it's on Patreon, and I made the little banner for it. I'm very proud of it.
Which you should.
Xenon going yap, yap, yap.
Snaps for Christine on the banner. It's incredible.
Em got medicated, and I made a stupid banner at 3 a.m, but that's what we do around here.
We both kind of went completely opposite directions of what she did.
We always end up meeting in the middle somewhere.
We always,
but I will say too, yeah, we do. And to Em's point about the newsletter on our website, we did announce our Halloween pet costume winners, and I hand mailed out with stamps.com membership, mailed out all we surprised everybody with bandanas, and that's why we drink bandanas for their pups and cats.
So sweet.
Yeah. So anyway, just congratulations to all of those folks. And that's all. I didn't mean to step on your big announcement.
I didn't mean to interrupt the Xenon thing, but I felt stupid that I like just completely said the wrong thing. So I was like, let me defend myself now that I have a crutch.
No, it's not stupid. We're very confusing. We just decide we have a newsletter, and suddenly we have 8 newsletters. So that's just kind of our brand. We just do that.
We got 2 of everything. It just depends, are you a patron or not, how much access you have. Also, speaking of Patreon, if you are on our close friends list on Instagram, you will now know that I have started a new series called Tea Time with Em.
I actually thought that was the big announcement. So then when you went ADHD, I went, okay, veering back.
Many interesting things. No, so I'm now doing Tea Time Tuesdays, where everyone knows already that I'm...
Oh, it's so fun. I've only been to one, but it's
Yesterday
so fun.
was the first. You went to the debut, the premiere.
I'm so proud that I got to watch it.
And since I'm drinking tea and sitting there anyway, I posted something yesterday during my normal tea time, and I was like, while I'm drinking tea, let's spill some tea. Who's got some like hot goss? And people were sending in some crazy shit that family drama, all this. And so it's all anonymous. So if you are a Patreon member and you do happen to tune in on Tuesdays on my Instagram, if you would like to submit something, and I'll post about it, but it will be anonymous. No one will know it's you that said it. So
it's a close friends exclusive. Except I got to be part of it, even though Em usually deletes me from their close friends at some point.
Shocking that you've been on my close friends.
I don't know how.
Long. Usually I delete you because I have a present and then I forget to add you back. True. So it's always a good thing.
Yeah, I should stop complaining. But anyway, yeah, Em's Tea Time is so fun, and there's just like people submit anonymous like hot goss, and I was responding to Em like, whoa, that's crazy. It's just stuff people were submitting about like their in-laws.
People were sending. There was one that didn't make it because I forgot. I left the submission form open all night, so I forgot to like delete it. So people kept submitting stuff for 24 hours. I have 3,000 pieces of drama from people, and some are like, my neighbor murdered his grandparents and like left the corpses in the house for a few days. Like wild
that's
shit.
Not hot goss. That's true crime. That
a few of them I responded and I was like, please submit your story to and that's why you drink.com.
You link the link in the post. Yeah. Anyway, tea time is great too, and now Em's getting medicated and on tea time. I mean, it's gonna be a wild ride.
It's gonna be a fun time. I got Marvel Mondays and I got Tea Time Tuesdays, and now I've got what am I taking? Strattera every single day of the week. So it's always an adventure over here.
Cool. Yes, it is.
Anyway, I'm sorry for that long intro, but we warned you. So, do you have any more updates before I go?
That is it for me for now. I mean, I'm sure I do, but let's just leave them alone for now because it's time to talk about.
I have
other
one
things.
last one. You look very beautiful today.
Oh my goodness, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Your skin is looking fantastic.
Oh, why? Thank you. I turned on a ring light, so that might be part of it.
Never mind. You're trash like normal. It's just with a ring light this time.
No, I appreciate it. I'm wearing my little rainbow kitten surprise hoodie, so covered in cat hair.
Noticed.
Classy trash.
So, like a dumpster, like in your the last episode.
So even though Em and I do this anyway, our eyes apparently were not made to look at screens all day, and that's why we have to use Felix Gray to save our eyeballs.
Between Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, more Instagram, TikTok, podcasting, looking at my own computer, looking at the TV. I mean, I get eye strains, I get headaches, and luckily with Felix Gray, that does not happen to me because they have blue light glasses that filter blue light, and it keeps me from getting headaches.
So right now, Felix Gray is having a Black Friday special at 15% off, and most blue light glasses actually don't filter enough blue light in the light spectrum wavelength that actually matters. So Felix Gray glasses filter 15 times more blue light from screens than other clear blue light lenses. So upgrade.
I'm telling you, no eye strain over here. Not on my Twitter account.
It really... Not on my TikTok. Yeah, it really has saved my head from bursting headaches. I used to literally stay up with Em probably simultaneously till 3 a.m. I still do that. Why am I saying I used to do that?
Just for different reasons now. Just for fun reasons.
Just for fun reasons with glasses, thank God, because they really help.
And Felix Gray makes eyewear for everywhere. There's modern lenses to help manage our digital lives, and the original optical lenses relieve most eye strain symptoms from daily screen time. And there's the more advanced sleep glasses that relieve serious daily eye strain and were especially designed for late night screen time to improve sleep, which is exactly that's my situation.
If you don't love your glasses in the first 30 days, their in-house customer care team will take care of exchanges and returns.
Shop 15% off through Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Go to felixgrayglasses.com/drink to shop better blue light glasses at their best price ever.
That's FELIXGRAY glasses.com/drink for 15% off site-wide through Black Friday/Cyber Monday.
Free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. felixgrayglasses.com/drink. Christine, do you have a butthole?
I normally would say it's none of your business, but you know what? No shame. Yes, I do. And I think we all do, at least most of us.
Most of us should. I do. We have something in common, at least. That's nice.
Well, finally. Well, that's good news, Em, because Tushy, this ad is for you, Em.
Oh, good. Well, listen, I love my Tushy. If you don't know what it is a bidet that you can attach to your toilet. I did it. I was able to put it together in, it felt like 5 minutes. It was very quick. It probably took me a lot less time than I thought it should have. And by the time it was done, I was ready to I was like, I'm going to sit on this toilet and I'm going to take advantage of this and really test it out. And wow, my booty feels so clean. Oh my gosh. I've never gone back.
It's the best. It's really great. So basically the Hello Tushy Modern Bidet attachment is here to bestow the blessings of bidets, not just to M on their throne, but to all of you as well. Basically what it does is Hello Tushy cleans your butt with a precise stream of fresh water for just $79. It's fully affordable. It sounds super fancy, and it is, but it's also super affordable, easy to install, like Em said. Mm-hmm. And you'll, I know we're not having guests much right now, so you can have the luxury, but when you have guests visit in the future, oh my gosh, they're going to be so impressed.
I can't wait for my mom to come visit so I can be use our bathroom. We have a bidet. It's wild. Best $79 I've ever spent. So it attaches to your existing toilet. It requires no electricity or additional plumbing, and it cuts toilet paper use by 80%. Can confirm over here. We save so much toilet paper now because I'm just I'm cleaning my butt before I do step 2. So anyway,
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
The Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes in 9 color combinations to match your private part's personal brand.
Ooh, so
and every
cute.
Hello Tushy, every Hello Tushy bidet attachment also comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty.
Go to hellotushy.com/drink to get 10% off.
This is a special offer for our listeners, so go to hellotushy.com/drink for 10% off.
hellotushy.com/drink. So my story has been recommended quite a few times. Actually, someone in Marvel Monday last week also suggested this. So this is the story. It's from Charleston, South Carolina, and it is the Old City Jail. And apparently it is, if not the most, then it's arguably one of the most haunted buildings in South Carolina, and thus one of the most haunted places in the country.
Woo.
And I guess let's just get into it. We got a ways to go. We're obviously we're gonna get a cameo from Bagel Bites, so stay tuned.
Oh, hell yeah. Why am I always surprised?
And I'm gonna say, I don't know, I think it's my, actually these are the first notes I've done with ADHD medication, and it shows because I did a lot of random deep dives. Like I really got committed to the information instead of just just telling you one fact. I was like, what does that mean? And then I looked up the history of it. So we've got a lot of fun facts coming your way.
Yeah, so for all those judgy people who used to say it's not charming when they don't know what they're doing, well, here you go. Em's finally medicated. Are you happy?
Finally, I know what I'm doing. Let's crack into it. Took 198 episodes. Oh, I have a couple of little notes first. So Charleston is one of the United States' most haunted cities, or it's notoriously one of the most haunted cities. And one of the main reasons for that, which I did not know, is because of how well preserved their historical buildings are. I think they're one of the cities that have the most historical buildings that are still standing. And so one of the historical buildings, by the way, was Poogan's Porch, which I talked about.
I remember that one.
10 episodes ago. That was 186. Fun fact for you. And another one happens to be the Old City Jail, which is at 21 Magazine Street. So one of the tour guide managers has said that another reason this place is so haunted is because it was built right next to an asylum, and it is on top of a former graveyard.
Good.
So already hundreds of bodies have been at least placed here. I don't know if they're still there and got, exhumed or whatever, but bodies have been in this space. So it was kind of hazy for me, but my understanding is that the building itself was built in 1738, but then in 1802 it became a jail. So before that time, it was also a hospital, a poorhouse, and it was a home for runaway slaves. It had 4 stories. It had an octagonal tower. Ooh, ah. And it had a lot of windows, but no glass. It just had iron bars. So old school, old timey jail. Just like how you imagine, just a hole in the wall with bars on it.
Great.
Which, by the way, I did not know this, is called iron glass.
What? Really?
Because the window doesn't have glass. It just has bars. And so you just call it glass because
they couldn't just say iron. They had to just throw glass in too.
Okay, that's the she decor way. It's and we have an iron glass window. It's
yeah, exactly.
Oh, you have rusty fucking bars? Got it. Okay.
It's like saying it's open concept, but it's really just a studio apartment.
It's like saying it's cozy, but it's cramped as shit.
Yeah, the sink is next to the bed. It's fine.
So this place is also cozy, by the way. If I'm going to keep going with my realtor voice.
Love it.
It's so this place was originally supposed to only hold 130 cells or 130 inmates. But during the Civil War, it became a prisoner of war camp for Union soldiers. And even though only 130 bodies are supposed to be able to fit over 300 dead. And this is how cozy it was. The cells were each 3 by 3, 3 foot by 3 foot. So it's basically like a standing cage. Essentially,
you couldn't even sit.
You could sit. You couldn't really lie down. You really were just kind of huddled up.
Okay, yeah, I guess it's a meter,
a yard and a yard or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The American metric system.
I get it.
So in 1822, apparently there were so many escape attempts that they actually had the person who designed the Washington Monument come and reinforce the jail so people couldn't break out.
That's like a very Nicolas Cage thing of like, okay, you built the Washington Monument and all its secret tunnels. Well, we need you to build a structure that no one can escape from. Exactly. I love it.
We need to fortify it we need it as sturdy as the Washington Monument.
I feel like this is the next Dan Brown novel or something.
Well, apparently this is just another fun fact, one of the inmates there, his name was Jacques Alexander Tardy, and he was one of the most evil pirates of that time. And he was apparently known to poison his victims. So that's just fun for you. So like I said, it was a prisoner of war camp during the Civil War. Union soldiers were overcrowded there. Some were even forced to sleep outside, which I find ironic when you're supposed to be locked away in a jail. But they would just I guess, tie you to a tree or something.
But I guess also like what's technically outside if you have iron glass as your windows.
Fair.
I don't know.
But so people were getting forced to sleep outside because it was so overcrowded they couldn't even cram more people into the cells.
Oh boy.
And so between there being nothing stopping them from like weather conditions coming into the jail, and so many people were in there wounded, there was just a lot of disease, there was a lot of illness, and so people were kind of dropping left and right. This jail was once called, quote, a dirty, filthy place unfit for human beings to live. And it was also called, quote, the nastiest, dirtiest, filthiest, lousiest place I ever was in by one of the inmates.
Oh, God.
So it's just a lot of death, a lot of disease. Apparently there was like maggots in the food and like it's just really gross. So this is a really large range, but there are suggestions that hundreds to 14,000 people died here.
Oh, that is quite a range.
Quite a range. They think the exaggerated term is like 10 to 14,000, but one historian only found records of hundreds, so they're not really sure.
Still a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, still like not zero. Zero. And they said most of that was from disease and open wounds during the war.
Oh, how gross.
In 1886, there was a 6.8 magnitude earthquake, and it destroyed most of the jail, which got like 2/3 of the inmates to escape all at once.
Whoa.
And it was the leader of this escape was a female murderer, like one of the only convicted female murderers of the time.
I don't blame her for wanting to get out of there, man.
She was like, I'm out. No way am I staying here.
Can you imagine being one of the 1/3 that didn't get out? And they're like, wait, I missed my chance.
No. So they could have gotten out. They just were scared to leave.
Oh, okay.
Apparently,
got it.
It knocked down like a huge wall. And so like this one woman was like, I'm going to climb over this rubble and just leave. And 40 of them happened to be like, yeah, this is a good idea. I'm going to do that too. And the other 20 were like, oh, I'm not going to. I'm too scared.
You risk it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
But so that happened. This also led to the tower I mentioned and the top floor being demolished. So the building today is only 3 stories. So this is now where I try to tell you floor by floor what everything was for without going out of order.
Do you remember that was so early in the podcast? But like now we're on floor 11, and I was like, wait, what happened to floors 8 through 10?
I was like, we get to them later. They're after floor 30.
Oh my God.
Okay, so the first floor, where am I? Okay, the first floor was for, I guess, as the higher up you went on the floors, the more dangerous the inmates were. So the first floor was known as the, quote, gentleman criminals. Because they weren't violent and they usually had a lot of manners and charm and were like doing their best to like get out of jail early. Mm-hmm. The second one was for like people who were in debt or thieves. And the third one was for like murderers, people committing different acts of assault. So they were all separated mainly based on if they were violent or not, but they were all at different times punished in really horrific ways. Some of them being shackles, being whipped. A lot of them were deprived of food and water. Then again, you're only being deprived of like food that had maggots in it. So
maggot food,
doesn't seem too different. Over the years, torture also became a big thing there.
Nope, don't like that.
And executions happened on the site. Apparently there were gallows there. So a few of the ways that people would be tortured here is they would be burned at the stake.
Oh.
They would be branded, and they would be drawn and quartered. So
no.
The worst one was apparently for people of all the things. Like, you could be a murderer, you could be a rapist. Apparently, if you were a horse thief, if you fucking stole horses,
God forbid,
this is what would happen to you. They would literally nail your ear to a post until they, I guess, I'm confused. The phrasing was, they would nail your ear to a post until the ear was finally sliced off. I think that means like they would go one by one nails until like they literally basically cut your ear off through putting nails into it.
Or they just nailed it and then like
ripped it off. Or, yeah, your ear is removed by the end. That's
not good, happens. No matter what it is.
But also that makes no sense to me. Like when you're thinking like a horse thief, like
maybe they mean like it's a horse who thieves.
Maybe
like a horse thief.
I hope so.
Probably not.
That makes a lot more sense to me. They just like go around and steal pebbles from the ground or something.
And pebbles.
Apples, yes. Okay, an apple thief.
I mean, no, it's not better because I also don't want horses' ears to be nailed to anything, but it's all just,
none of it makes sense.
It doesn't quite make sense.
And it really starts with the fact that they think a horse thief is the worst criminal you can be.
Yeah, that's a little weird to me, but.
So I said some of the torture was being burned at the stake, branded, and drawn and quartered. This is where my Stratera kicked in. And so I was like, what is drawn and quartered?
No, why did I have to take it? Stop taking that. I don't want to hear this. I'm done.
So
I've had enough of medicated M.
I got nice and laser focused on my notes, or that's how my brain took this. And so I was like, well, I'm working on my notes, so obviously I'm doing the right thing, and this is work. So I'm doing my job. So I really got deep into the drawn and quartered because I didn't really understood what it meant. I just kind of assumed it was terrible.
I feel like it's one of those phrases we throw around, but I don't really think too deeply about.
Haphazardly, just drawn and quartered. Yeah. So it began in the 14th century in England when people would betray the crown. That is where this originally came from. And these are the steps to being fully drawn and quartered.
Okay. So, where does a horse come in?
A horse does come in. So
I knew it.
He has to steal something.
A pebble,
a pebble, he gives it to an apple. It's a whole thing. And then the prisoner is hanged by their neck until they are almost strangled.
Okay.
You then take that noose, tie it around their ankles, and then the horse pulls you to the execution site.
Oh, drawn. Like a horse-drawn carriage. Okay,
Except you're the carriage. And
a horse-drawn body.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't even click. I was like, oh, drawn, that's what that means.
I didn't either.
So apparently the method ends up changing because the word drawn changed also, because it just kind of meant like to pull something out versus like pulling something behind. And so sometimes being drawn and quartered, I guess you found out like the day of, like they just rolled a dice and figured out which version of drawn you were going to be. They would pull you out to the execution site by a horse, or I guess I should say because you could get drawn both ways. They would then kind of pin you up so that you couldn't move, and then they would draw your intestines out of your body.
Okay. Whoa.
It's not done. That's just the drawn part.
Okay.
Then once your intestines are out, but you're still like apparently alive.
Well, that's not good.
They would cut off your genitals. And then with your intestines, they would take your intestines and your genitals and they would throw them in a fire and make you watch them burn up. And then they would behead you, and then the rest of your body they would chop into 4 big chunks, hence quartering.
I love at that point they're like, now let's cut it into. It's like you've already done everything possible to destroy this person's body.
Well, then those big chunks of the body, the head and those 4 quarters, they would preserve them with like some sort of spices to keep birds from picking at it, and then they would display those as a warning to other traders.
Okay, they spice them, and then
they boil it. They add a little spice, and then
put a little cilantro on top.
Yeah, and then in especially horrible situations, if they didn't have like a knife to cut you apart, they would just tie each of your limbs to different horses and make them all run in different directions.
That's the one I've heard of, which I was hoping was just a myth, and clearly it's not. So great. No. Super duper duper duper.
Anyway, that is my deep dive on Drawn and Quartered. Don't you like?
I love that this is what happens when you take medication. You like become me. Like, things you start looking better. Up grotesque, horrible things on the internet. Yeah.
So in 1911. No, we're back to the jail now. So in 1911, Daniel Duncan was the last man to be hanged at the jail, and then the gallows were removed. So after 1911, there were no more gallows. In 1939, the jail closed after 137 years.
Wow.
And then, so I don't know what happened in between that, because that's the 40s all the way through the 90s. I'm not really sure what happened. I think it was just kind of open to the public or abandoned or whatever. Fun, yeah, you know. Kids like us would just go traipsing through in the middle of the night, I guess.
Certainly we would have, yes.
Hey, Christine, have you seen my business card?
I haven't. I've also seen your mug with a beautiful special someone. Where do you get all these beautiful custom items?
I get all of them from Vistaprint. And by the way, I'm ashamed that your answer to the business card answer wasn't like, oh, I already have a few in my pocket just in case someone needs one.
Well, you know that I already have 85, and I feel like every time I tell you, the number goes up. So I feel like at this point, you might as well round to 1,000.
True. And also, you did mention my most recent creation on Vistaprint was my Xenon mug, which actually was your Xenon mug. And then you went back to Ohio, and I kept it. Oopsies. So now Xenon's been joining me. I've been having tea with Z, and it's going great thanks to Vistaprint.
Well, that's good, because Vistaprint specializes in unregiftable gifts, which I will say the Xenon gift mug probably isn't very regiftable.
Only to myself. I regifted it to myself.
Yeah. Em literally just took it home. Gifts so unique, another word for it, and personal, you wouldn't dream of passing them on. So they have one-off gifts like custom mugs. I also made you one, but I haven't shown it to you yet, Em, so it's a surprise.
Okay.
And you're going to hate it. And canvas prints, photo book. I only say that because
it's lemon. I get it. Yeah, because it's lemon. Okay.
Not because it's Vistaprint, because everyone else will love it. Photo books, wall calendars. They're the kind of thoughtful gifts you really can't wait to give, because they just give you so much surprise and joy, like my Xenon mug that I'm in love with.
That I drink out of every day. And she stares me dead in the eyes with her cold eyeballs. And she watches me drink my tea, thanks to Vistaprint. Go to Vistaprint.com/drink and get started on your own unregiftable gift. The holidays are coming up. Don't miss your chance to get an unregiftable gift, such as Xenon. Get started today at Vistaprint.com/drink.
So, Em, I am very proud, because yesterday you told me that I looked glowing.
You did? There was something going on with your face, and I was like, I can see it all the way from LA. What's happening?
Well, I'm very excited, because my entire bathroom has turned into just Glossier products. And it's funny, my sister comes over a lot more now that I have like the gel cream blush it's best selling. And apparently my sister came over and was like, wow, my friends are going to be so jealous. So I guess it's also very cool to have Glossier makeup.
Oh my gosh, you're trendy again.
I know. Probably not anymore that I've yelled about it, but I am very honored that you were impressed by my face, because I worked very hard thanks to Glossier.
And that was their Cloud Paint Duo, right? Their Glossier's best-selling gel cream blush, right?
It was, yes. The Cloud. Gosh, it has such a fancy name. I always just call it blush.
Well, Cloud Paint is just such a fun thing to say. And also, it's formulated to be seamless, so it doesn't look cakey or unnatural, and glides right onto your skin without settling into your pores or your lines. And the pillowy, lightweight texture is sheer and buildable with a naturally dewy finish, which is why you looked so marvelous yesterday.
It is like sincerely so. It's like, gosh, Em, I wish I could just like show it to you. It's so smooth and
like
silky.
Like butter.
Just, I guess, touch Allison's face, since she wears it as well.
Got it.
You can even mix shades on the back of your hand to create like a custom blush. So you're
the fancy person behind the desk.
Aha, yes, that's exactly me. And the Cloud Paint colors were actually inspired by New York City sunsets, and that's why they are all so beautiful. I really like the dusk one, actually, is what I usually wear. Anyway, you'll look like you're blushing from within, which I usually am anyway, but now you have makeup to prove it.
Get the Cloud Paint Duo by visiting Glossier.com/podcast/drink.
For a limited time, new customers can get 10% off their first order. Certain exclusions apply.
That's GLOSSIER.com/podcast/drink. In 1998, the American College of the Building Arts bought this property. And so I was like, building arts, what is the building arts? And it was literally a school for like masonry and plaster and timber and blacksmithing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I would love to go to that school. That sounds dope.
Yeah.
But so they bought it until 2015 when the college moved. So from 98 to 2015, it was no longer available to the public. It was part of the school, which is weird now because I guess I'm not really sure of the timeline at this point. I don't know if the college moved, but they still have some sort of like remote classes there. But I watched Bagel Bites and they went in and there were still some classes in session. So I don't know if like the college keeps it as like just like a secondary location or something, but it was weird to see on TV because half of it was like a full blown old school, old timey jail. And then the other half was like classrooms. It's really odd.
You're like, here's the volleyball court.
Yeah. It's like all those angsty teens who are like, school is a prison. It's like, well, kind of.
Nice try.
My favorite part of the of this episode of Ghost Adventures, by the way, is that Zach was like, as he was going around and being all dramatic, there was like students in the background, like just trying to work.
Oh my God. If you were one of those students, can you please write into us and tell us your experience? Because I bet you.
Literally one of them, like he went up to one of them while she was working and he like interrupted her and was like, do you have any ghost stories here? And she was like, apparently there was one story she had where she walked away and then she came back and like there were like 3 scratches in her plaster project that she had just been working on.
Oh, that's not very nice.
It's terrible. Also, like, can you imagine, like, my dog ate my homework? It's like, no, a demon fucked up my project.
A demon scratched my homework, and I'm trying to get an A. And
you understand.
Can you? I wish I had the behind the scenes footage or like the extra footage, DVD footage, where Zach went up to every other student who was like, "No, I don't have a story. Can I get back to my homework?"
It's like I'm already trying to be a blacksmith. Life is hard enough. Okay, in 2020,
who are you?
There's no way. Okay, so when the student did say like, "Oh well, I found these scratches in my plaster in my project." This was the quote that Zach said next because it's deliciously him.
Can't wait.
Were these the scratch marks from one of the prisoners recording their eternal sentence as they did on the walls of their cells? AKA,
yes!
Like he thinks they're like tally marks because of how many days they've been in jail.
Come on.
Can you imagine if like you just ran out of spaces to draw tally marks? Now you're ruining people's art projects.
You're like, here's a really easy wall to draw on. It's someone's homework.
So apparently, I watched a few episodes of different things for this, and every single one of them really like to hone in on this one main inmate. So I'm going to talk about that real quick. The most notorious inmate across all television episodes is Lavinia Fisher, who was apparently one of. They said it was the first U.S. female serial killer.
Yes, I know not all about her, but I do know about her.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can pitch in then.
Probably I can't help. But
I know all about her, but all of a sudden I know nothing about her.
But nothing, yeah. I've gotten a lot of requests to cover her, so that's like, I have very cursory knowledge.
Okay, I'll do a quick synopsis and maybe it'll pique your interest.
I'm sure it will.
But so Lavinia is the country's first female serial killer. So Lavinia was married to a guy named John, and in the early 1800s, John ran a hotel called the 6 Mile House because it was 6 miles out of Charleston. And apparently for locals, if you are in the Charleston area, this location is the property that it was on is now where the old Navy Hospital in North Charleston was. That should mean something to you. It doesn't to me, but there you go. So at the 6 Mile House, Lavinia was known to lure wealthy men into their inn. And from there, John would kill them. And then they would rob them and take their money.
It's very Bloody Benders.
Yeah. Actually, I was just talking about the Bloody Benders. I think they're one of my favorite stories you've ever covered.
I feel like I remember you retained that one, and I retained that one. And we don't retain many of them.
Well, they also held the title. They're like America's first serial killers or something, right?
Yeah,
or
family. One of the earliest family serial. I don't know.
The fact that there's different ranks is
that's
awful
true.
Enough.
They were just bad.
So, keep in mind, Lavinia and John apparently were super popular throughout the town. And so anytime they even came across as suspicious, people would deny it and be like, oh, there's no way they would do that. So their reputation really helped them get away with this for a lot longer, to a point where rumors even like were circulating throughout the town. People were bringing evidence or like at least their suspicions to the sheriff. And like everyone was like, no, it's not them.
They are pillars of the community.
Bingo. Pillar to killer. And so the main story of what exactly was happening was that Lavinia would invite traveling businessmen into their hotel for dinner. And while they were sitting there, she would kind of be flirting with them and ask them questions about their job to figure out just how much money they make. And I guess I wonder what like the cutoff was. We're like, oh, you're too poor. I don't want to, it's not
I feel like we'd be like, we're podcasters. And they'd be like, well, can you leave, please?
Like, we don't have any vacancies. So
there's no stew for you. Just get out.
But so she'd figure out how much money they had. And I guess to her perspective, if they were wealthy enough, they would become, prey.
Yikes.
And so she, after dinner, would offer them a cup of tea, not the kind that I drink on Tea Time Tuesdays, but it was actually made out of oleander. And I guess that would make them fall asleep really deeply, so that then they, John could kill them.
How did he kill them? Do we know?
So there are a few different rumors. The most interesting one is that the bed that she would bring them to fall asleep was actually like on a trap door, and underneath was like a pit of spikes.
Oh.
So that's one of them. Another one is that like, they would just come in and chop you up or something, or stab you to death.
Sure. The usual
kill.
I just Googled it because I'm like really nervous that I covered it at one point, and I'm just being like, I don't know this story, but I really don't think I have.
I don't think you have either.
Okay, good. I just checked because I was like, can you imagine? Oh, God.
Well, we could both be wrong. Look, I have foggy brain, so I don't know.
You have an excuse.
So apparently, this is interesting. There was, at one point, they knew that a nearby town knew that Charleston needed some cleaning up. I guess there was a lot of crime. Probably most of it was from Lavinia.
Right.
And so a bunch of like vigilantes came in to like clean up the town. And so Lavinia and John laid low for a while. And very quickly they were like, oh, there's not as much crime as we thought. And they left.
Jeez. Okay.
But one decided to stay behind. His name was David. And he was like basically like neighborhood watch or town watch. And very quickly after everyone else was gone, Lavinia tried to kill him. John choked him and threw him out a window, but David was able to escape and run off. So he was one of the people who testified against them. And then the other was a guy named John who asked for a room, but Lavinia said there were no vacancies until she realized that he was rich. And then she was like, oh no, now there's an opening. And so he got really suspicious. So he, when she offered him tea, he dumped it out when she wasn't looking. And then he slept in the chair and not the bed because he was like kind of freaked out. And so he woke up to the bed, like either falling into a trap door or John breaking in, one of the two. Can you imagine if you're sitting in a strange room and then the bed falls through the floor and then there's a pit of spikes?
That's like really complicated for them to keep like setting up every time a new bed on the logistics. Trap door.
Logistics. Best case scenario, you have like a hand, a hand crank where you bring that bed up every time.
That's right. You got to keep pulley system it. Yeah,
Best case. Yeah, like dumbwaiter situation or something. But so he ended up also testifying. So where was I? So once they were convicted, the couple both ended up in isolation cells, and then they were eventually brought to the gallows, which is interesting because Lavinia, a woman at the time, she thought that they were like going to sign a pass or something and like and they wouldn't execute her.
Right.
Their body count is estimated between 20 and 120 people, but there were no bodies ever found. So there is the argument that they also never did anything wrong at all.
Oh.
But it's pretty like understood that
they just had like a basement full of spikes and a bed on a pulley, and they were
and maybe not even that. So there actually was in a one book. Did I write it down? I don't think I did, but there was one author who like really went into their story and even said like under like very simple investigation, like it didn't even need thorough investigation. There is no trapdoor in their house. There's no poison in their house. There was nothing. But also the controversy or the debate the rebuttal to that is like, well, after they were convicted, everything in their house was destroyed. So like anything could have been taken or so we really don't know, but it's assumed that they killed a lot of people.
I see.
So just to make sure that she wasn't executed, when they said that she was going to the gallows, she allegedly wore her wedding dress to the gallows because she wants to remind them she was a married woman, and there was a law at the time that you couldn't execute a married woman. But then
like dainty old me.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm so fair and faint.
I just wanted to wear my mermaid gown, one more time.
my strapless little shimmy, you know. But so they did a little loophole on her, and so they executed John first. And so till death do us part, she wasn't married anymore. And so she allegedly died in her wedding dress.
So you can murder a widow, I guess, or execute a widow.
Yep.
Wow.
Once again, it's all about the man. It's all about the man.
Well, what isn't?
So before Lavinia was hanged, her last words were something along the lines of like, if you have a message for the devil, I'll pass it on to him. Something really like kind of dark. Whoa. And it implied like, she knew she was going to hell. So she kind of admitted her guilt.
Even in a wedding dress, that is the creepiest visual. I bet when she wore the wedding dress to the gallows, they were like, well, now we have to kill you because this is a spectacle. Like this is, everybody came for a picnic.
This
all the
is
families
fucking
are here.
wild.
Yeah, like we need to go through with it now.
Well, here's an even creepier part. Imagine a woman in a wedding dress who allegedly murdered 100 people now says like, I'm going to pass the message on to the devil. And then before the executioner could do it, she jumped from the gallows herself and hanged herself. And apparently she struggled for like 15 minutes.
Oh, I just imagine the tool going flying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is horrifying.
Anyway, so that's the gist. That's the broad strokes. So Lavinia is said to be the like most powerful spirit at this jail. Especially on the third floor. That's where she likes to scratch people with 3 fingers, which like also is the demon claw, the Trinity, if Zach were here. And she likes to steal jewelry and shiny things. In 2012, there was one woman named Christine. Who took pictures when she was on a tour there, and pictures that were at first seemed completely black. Later, when they continued to develop, there were the faces of John and Lavinia.
Ew.
Which is super eerie.
Oh,
no. People also say that they have seen her staring at them from the 3rd floor window, and people have heard her screaming in the building in empty rooms.
Oh, yuck.
There's one other spirit that I just want to give a shout out to. His name was Denmark Vesey, who was famous for leading a slave uprising in Charleston. And he became a free man at the age of 32 because he won the lottery and was able to buy his freedom.
Amazing.
And which like I feel like at that time I'm shocked that he was like even allowed to participate in a lottery.
That they like gave him the money, right?
Right. Well, so he literally won his freedom, and he founded the African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, in case locals know what that is. And it quickly grew. I think it was like one of the biggest churches in the area for at least like freed slaves. And in 1822, he hatched a plan, which I'm totally on board, to kill slave owners, liberate the slaves, and ship them to freedom in Haiti. And so I guess news got around town, and the militia heard about it and imprisoned him for the rest of his life.
Just for saying it.
Just
like,
for
not
saying
for
it.
actually even doing it. Okay, got it.
And they heard it like through the grapevine. So he could have just denied it, but you know.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give him a shout out that like you tried your best, A for effort, and I'm sorry it didn't work out. I would have totally been 100% behind you on that.
Yeah.
So now getting into the spooky stuff. So there's a paranormal group called the League of Energy Materialization and Unexplained Phenomena Research, aka LEMUR.
Oh, I was trying to make it say lemon. I was like LEM.
You were so close.
I thought that's where we were going.
You had the first 3. If I wouldn't even dare,
you wouldn't have smelled it out.
I wouldn't have even let you have the chance.
No.
But so LEMUR, they wrote a full report about this back in 2017, I think. basically like history that they had heard of. And then I think they did their own investigation. So they had their own spooky encounters. But they said that apparently in 2000, there were renovations that kept the building sealed off. And yet bare footprints would be found all throughout the sawdust.
Ew.
Which I hate.
Hate that.
Also, many of the workers also saw an apparition of a guard with a rifle on the third floor. And these workers said that they started kind of getting familiar with this apparition. And so I guess they started ignoring it until this apparition started charging at them and then would vanish in front of their eyes.
Because I feel like ignoring them is the safest bet. But then if it just is like, no, you must look at me.
It's like, I want attention.
Like, what do you do? Oh, God.
And so they also heard the sounds of chains dragging down the halls. They heard a dumbwaiter probably pulling up the bed full of spikes or something. Even though the dumbwaiter was completely non-functional, they heard it working. Also, jewelry and other objects were disappearing, but it never got found later, which is like the worst part of that. Because if it's a fun prank, at least you get your shit back later.
Yeah.
But this time it was like, oh no, it's gone forever.
Yeah, usually it like moves somewhere.
Yeah, like your retainer story.
My retainer, right.
In the basement, apparently a man had his sunglasses knocked off by an unseen force. On hot days, the basement is so cold you can see your breath. Alarms will set themselves throughout, like security alarms will set themselves off nonstop, and cops are always having to go to the building in the middle of the night. And a lot of them have said that they go to check that there's not an intruder and all the doors are wide open. So they assume someone has broken in, but it's just that the doors are opening by themselves.
Oh, God.
Apparently there's a apparition in ragged clothes seen wandering the halls. There are a lot of electronic malfunctions. So cell phones will disrupt. A lot of cell phone disruptions will also happen where calls from unknown numbers come through. The batteries will drain. Dead batteries will all of a sudden like be on a full charge. They'll like turn phones on that were turned off. Like I said, doors are found open and closed on their own. One heavy iron door literally fell off of its hinges for no reason during a tour, which is the most frightening. If I were on a tour and all of a sudden like a 300-pound door just fucking fell on the ground, I would...
Yeah, the building's like falling apart around you. I feel like that's very dangerous.
My fucking mind.
I hope they have a good insurance plan because that's not great.
One of the torture machines that has ropes on it, apparently every time they go, tour guides will go down, the ropes are in different positions or tied together.
I don't like the notion behind that.
I don't like that they know how to tie knots still.
Good point.
I don't like that they have the ability
and how to operate torture machinery.
Okay, that
from the beyond
is arguably more. It's all bad. It's all bad.
Both of it's bad.
So people also get nauseous in the torture room. I'm not shocked about that. Visitors that actually work in corrections will usually feel the most sick and complain of this really gross smell that nobody else can smell.
Weird.
And other visitors have seen orbs. They've been pushed and shoved. They've felt a rope moving around their ankles, almost like they're about to get drawn. People have heard voices whisper in their ears. They've heard their name being called. And on the main stairs, people report feeling like their arms are wrapped in saran wrap. Like you're stuck. And they've also...
like a straitjacket.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe?
Oh, that's actually probably what it is.
Well, especially because you said there was like an insane asylum next door, too.
That's true. Okay.
Ugh.
Wow, I think you cracked that code.
Great. Glad I can like read into this shit so well.
People also feel choking and a shortness of breath. And one visitor was being choked so intensely that the tour guide thought she was going into cardiac arrest.
Oh my God.
Women feel hands clamping down on their shoulders that leave bruises and fingerprints. People will get bitten, and you will see rope burns around people's necks.
Oh my God.
On the third floor, there's still a wheelchair from the 1820s, which I don't know why that isn't in a fucking museum.
Goodbye.
It's just hanging out in an abandoned building. But there's a wheelchair that is from the 1820s, and apparently the chair's owner died from cholera. And so you can still hear coughing around the chair. And also it has extreme cold spots, and it will regularly move on its own and bump into people.
Excuse me.
It's like, do you fucking mind? This is my place.
Oh my God, that's wild.
In the morgue in the basement, there's a little ghost boy named Jeremiah. Apparently, he will try to hold visitors' hands and slip rocks into your pockets as presents.
That's cute.
Which I think is adorable. Like a little.
If he's not a demon, then that's adorable.
Well, then he starts throwing rocks at you.
Well, okay, that's less adorable.
So I don't know if the rocks were meant to be presents or if they're like, oh, now you have a target. Like, now I know, like, you're someone I want to throw rocks at.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure. But you can also feel cold spots in the basement that are about waist high or like child size. So a lot of people think that's Jeremiah coming near you.
It's sad.
It's sad because I don't know if I should feel warm about it or scared. I'm like,
I mean, I definitely feel scared.
Well, okay. I'm scared 100%, but I also want, like, can 50% of it be like sweetness? I'm not sure.
Is there a sympathy empathy line, or is this just a demon?
Or is he tricking me? Yeah.
Or yeah.
So the Old City jail also once held Union soldiers from the Massachusetts Regiment, which apparently, fun fact, is the same unit that was depicted in the movie Glory in the 80s.
Okay.
So that was the same unit of soldiers that were in this jail. And these soldiers' presents have been picked up in the morgue through spirit box sessions. They'll talk to you a lot. Apparently, they regularly ask for morphine, which like sounds cool if it's a like a residual haunting where it's like just playing a memory over and over. But if it's like an intelligent thing and it's still asking for morphine, like is it still in pain? Are they in pain?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm hoping it's just like a memory on repeat versus
can you
like
still be like addicted in the afterlife.
Ooh.
Or like I don't know.
I don't know
weird.
either.
Or are they just like, oh, I want a drink, I want some morphine, like just
gulp.
Fun, you know?
I got nothing else to do.
Right.
I don't know, but so I think that was super interesting. Also the tour website for the Old City Jail, as of 3 days ago, says that during quarantine they've been hosting Facebook Live tours of the jail. So if you would like to check that out, their tour company is called Bulldog Tours. And I just Googled Old City Jail Facebook Live, and it was the first link on Google. So
we should do it.
It seems fun. It's just like I think they just walk around and you can.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's also a smart way. Like during quarantine, like people can like go on the tour without going on the tour.
Yeah, I love that idea.
So a few episodes I watched for this were BuzzFeed Unsolved, Ghost Hunters, and then obviously our favorite Bagel Bites. And
obviously
on BuzzFeed Unsolved, they got some blips on the spirit box. They heard unexplained bangs in nearby rooms, and they think they saw a weird apparition, although I think it was just a security guard. It was like too human. But so that's what I found from them. On Ghost Hunters, which is interesting. Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures have this in common. For some reason, the Old City Jail like won a contest, and like its prize was it got to have an episode on the show. So for Ghost Hunters, the Old City Jail won the show's America's Hometown Ghost Hunter contest.
Okay, that's cool.
Which, like, if you're already this haunted, like, why do you need to, like, prove yourself? Like, why do you need to send in a resume to, like, be on the show when they should already want to come here? But anyway, they experienced intelligent knocking, so asking for a response and getting one. They got really heavy, unexplained thuds and boot steps and door slamming, where if that wasn't, like, the PA making noise around, if that was legitimate, it was very creepy. They also heard an EVP of someone whistling. The main storyline that was super spooky during all of this was that one of their PAs or one of their like crew members who's not supposed to be an investigator but just like holds the camera, she was getting fucked up. Like they were scratching the shit out of her. These ghosts.
That's awful.
And they were doing like interviews with her, and she was like, "I've never seen anything paranormal. I've worked here for a long time.
She's like, I'm just trying to make it in the industry.
I'm just trying to make it big." And also, I guess before the investigation, when they were doing a tour of it, like a walkthrough, the manager said that most of the things here happened to women. And she was the only woman in the crew that night. So there was another woman, but she had made it very clear, like, you are not allowed to touch me. I feel very uncomfortable. And this poor PA or camera person was like, I didn't even know I had to say something, so I'm just getting like, torn up.
That's scary.
So she got scratched a little bit at first, and then very quickly she had to literally leave the site because she had like scratches all up and down her arms.
God.
One of the other investigators went to the space where that happened to her, and very quickly he felt burning and scratches, and they put a flashlight on him, and there were rope burns around his neck.
Okay.
They then all heard movement, and they saw movement outside the doorway, and they legitimately thought it was just like, oh, that's a camera person walking by. And then the crew was like, no, like we're not over there. Like, so they saw something and didn't even think it could be ghostly. And then when they double checked, there was no one there.
Oh no.
They heard a door open and close very loudly. Another crew member tapped out. Like, they're dropping like flies. Like, there was like,
seriously,
people were like, I don't want to be here. And then they all end up going back down to where that camera person got scratched, and they all see something like pitch black moving through the door. It like even moves past a light source, and it blocked the light source. And right after that, the same crew member who was getting scratched up starts feeling burning again, and she had scratches on her stomach, her neck, and her back. And both investigators saw the black mass again, and she felt something touching her as they were closing out and ending the investigation.
This is like a violent place.
Yeah, well, at least if you're that one person, for sure.
Right.
And then last but not least, I'm going to give us a little snippets of Bagel Bites. So
thank God.
This is season 5, episode 10, if you're interested. This is some information that I didn't see anywhere else, but apparently the conditions were so bad at this jail that one of the residual sounds people hear a lot is walking, but it sounds crunchy. And apparently it's because there was a like terrible lice problem back then. And so the sound is similar to what people have reported, where like the sheriff walking through past the cells and like stepping on lice eggs. And so
ew.
during their free time, they were in jail. So during all of their time,
during craft hour, arts and craft hour,
one of the things a lot of the Union soldiers that were prisoners here, they would just kill time by just shaving each other all day, so lice couldn't get on them.
Oh God, that's so gross.
And also, remember, maggots in the food and like dirty water, and apparently the latrines were overflowing all the time. And it was super crowded, and there was wounds and disease. And the tour guide said that people also regularly hear footsteps running down the halls and cell doors slamming in empty rooms when they're locking up at night. Other tour guides said that this was really creepy. One tour guide said that he was looking in the window of the guards room and saw an apparition of Lavinia staring back at him. And then he realized that it wasn't an apparition on the other side. It was her reflection behind him.
Ah!
Ugh.
No.
When asking about Lavinia's spirit during the interview, like during the walkthrough interview portion, Zach is quoted saying, "I somehow seem to attract psychotic evil women."
Sorry. Woo! That hit a little too close to home for me.
Well,
Thanks.
I heard him say it, and I went, oh, I'm going to have to go back and write that one down. That's too on the nose.
Worthy. Put that on a magnet for Christine's fridge. Okay.
Here, in case you need it for your Redbubble account, here it is.
I do.
I somehow seem to attract psychotic evil women, from Zach Beans.
And then put my face under it in my Twitter account.
The tour guide was like, good for you, Zach. Like, literally didn't know what to say.
What do you say to that? Right.
Like, good for you. And then Zach was like, no, it's not a good thing.
Oh my God.
So he was on a different level in this episode, because then he apparently like was all antsy about investigating that night. He like needed to ghost hunt immediately. So in the broad daylight, they go to like downtown Charleston, I guess, and went on a horse-drawn carriage. And he asks the coach driver to just drop them off at a random haunted location for them to investigate during the day. Okay. I skipped that part of the episode because for all I know, it's a location I'm going to cover later, and I didn't want to get into it. But he does investigate a location earlier in the day. But before they got dropped off, they're talking to the coach driver, and the horse pees all over the street. And Zach asks if he can be the one to drop the urine marker on the street for like the street cleaners. He's like very excited about it. He was like, "Oh, can I do it?" He right before, I guess he had learned what a urine marker was. Where if I also grew up in a town that did horse-drawn carriages, so I've seen them on the streets before. But they're like these little like flags, And like whenever a horse, goes in the street, you throw one on, so that way when the cleaners see the little flag
I didn't know
litter,
this.
they know they know like what to clean up. They know it's literal horse pee and not like water or something.
And now it's Zach's new hobby. Got it.
He saw it, he lost his fucking mind. And then when the horse peed everywhere, he was like, "Can I throw the urine marker?" So,
this is us on a TV show. Like, no, you're supposed to be doing like the actual content of the show.
So he got to throw the urine marker. That was his favorite thing in the world. And then he must have really given himself a big head, because he started talking about horse bathroom tendencies. And he asked the coach driver, quote, "When a horse takes a shit in the bag, I notice the bag jumbles up, kind of like you're tossing some salad. Do you get the vaporous fumes that come back up through here? AKA, can you smell the horse poop when you're standing behind the horse when he poops?"
Right.
And the driver said yes. And then Aaron went, quote, "So far, I haven't learned anything about the city. I've only learned about poop."
Oh my God. This is really, I love this. This is like next level.
I won't be able to eat salad for a while. Let's just put it that way.
No, it's not. I wasn't going to eat salad anyway, but yeah, not planning on it anymore.
So when they investigate the jail, here's my last really fun fact, like super fun fact.
Okay.
So when they decided to investigate the jail, remember I said there was a theme and that there were contests for both of these shows. Ghost Hunters had a contest. Well, Ghost Adventures also had a contest, and it was called the Music Video Mashup Challenge, which I don't remember. But apparently when they were filming that season, they had this challenge where people could submit music videos and like, I guess like overlay Ghost Adventures quotes or...
I am so angry I didn't know about this when it was happening.
So I have the link. I have it on my phone. I'm going to send it to Eva, and we're going to put it in the show notes for this episode so you guys can all watch it. I'll also text it to you later. This guy literally tried to dress up like Zach Bagans, had the faux hawk, tried to totally recreate the intro, like the "My name is Zach Bagans." And like, but it's funny, like he made it like a parody. So he's like standing next to someone with a white sheet on him, like, so he looks like a ghost. But so here's,
sorry, go ahead.
So I was going to say that the video I'm going to show, that was the entry winner. And so
I feel like that means ZB has a good sense of humor, right? If he like let a parody win.
I think so. And
right.
Well, what's really fun about it is that, so the contest winner, you got to then go explore, and you got to investigate with them. So
I'm so angry I didn't win this contest.
Well, you're going to be even angrier. So the person that won this challenge and submitted the video that we'll have in the show notes, his name was Dakota. He was 16 at the time. His contest entry name was "Your Dad's Awesome Music Video." Just so you know what he thought that was going to be the winning title, and it was. So whatever.
It worked.
Dakota was 16 at the time, so since he was underage, his dad also went, and so they both investigated with Zach together.
I'm so happy about this.
The best fun fact I think I've ever had is this about Dakota. So at the time he was 16, this was in 2012, and I thought, I'm going to Instagram message him, and I'm going to ask him what his experience was, if he could tell us anything about Zach. And then I found him on Instagram, and then I realized, he's verified, and also he has a lot of followers, so I don't think he's going to get back to me. But I was like, why does he have so many followers? He later went on to be the producer, editor, and star of Travel Channel's Destination Fear.
What?
So, which is precious, because I kind of think of Destination Fear as like a spinoff of Ghost Adventures.
Normally I would say it's rigged, but if he was 16 when he won, like, it's not like at that point he was already working for Travel Channel.
No, there were all like, the only way I found
that's amazing.
The way I found his last name was through a bunch of articles who were like aspiring filmmaker Dakota. And I was like, he makes it. He like has his own show.
That is so cool.
And the super precious part of this all is that in this episode, because he's like a teenager, like he didn't really know what he was doing, Zach teaches him how to use night vision, which he uses on his own show now, which is just I
am thrilled by this information.
It was just like, in Zach Bagans' world, it was the sweetest thing I've ever seen, where I was like,
this is precious.
History writing itself.
It's beautiful.
But so Zach's crew taught him how to use night vision, and now he uses it a lot on Destination Fear, which is on Travel Channel just like Zach. And they follow each other on Instagram, and Zach only follows 33 people, and Dakota's one of them.
Wow. Sorry, that was loud.
So,
but holy cannoli.
I did not message Dakota and get any hot goss. That's for another Tea Time Tuesday.
Yeah, and don't harass him, please, on our behalf, because that doesn't work for ZB, and it probably won't work for Dakota.
But it was really, really cute to see like a 16-year-old who like ends up making it, doing that exact thing.
Story. That's so cute.
So while he's there, during this investigation, Zach asks Lavinia to complete her final words, because remember she said like, oh, if you have a message for the devil, let me know. I'm going to see him in a second. So in the hot sec. And so Zach said, your final words, what were your final words again? If you have a message for, and then the spirit box said the devil. So yikes. That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
They also saw mist, and then they kept hearing knocking. And later there was a very loud crashing sound, like something huge had been thrown. And then they got an EVP saying, "You make me mad." Well, so that's awful.
That wouldn't be the first time.
Zach is also quoted because he was talking to Dakota and his dad, and I guess they were wondering if they were like how much investigating they were really going to be doing, or if they were just going to watch Zach. And Zach says, quote, "Guys, you didn't win a birthday party to McDonald's. You want a lockdown with us. So, Dad, we've got a room for you." And then they locked the dad in to like by himself for an hour in an empty room with equipment.
Oh my God, Zach prepared that statement. Like, I was so proud of it.
This isn't your average McDonald's birthday party. So they locked Dakota's dad in a room by himself, and while he's alone, they hear this huge unexplained crashing, banging next to the room, which they still never figured out. They also bring Dakota to Lavinia's area, and Zach says the quote, he's introducing Lavinia to Dakota and says, quote, "There's a spirit here. Her name's Lavinia. Lavinia was a psychotic bitch, and she killed a lot of people."
I just choked on my own spit.
And like, you're talking to a 16-year-old, by the way. Like,
yeah, wow.
Are you trying to like get on his level or something?
I love that he got rid of the dad first before he said that.
Well, then
locked his dad away.
Then he leaves Dakota with a digital recorder in Lavinia's area and says like, "Okay, now try to talk to her and like get some information." And Dakota says, quote, "Lavinia, my name is Dakota, and I'm a lot hotter than Zach."
Okay, it's no wonder this kid ended up being a success.
And so anyway, they soon hear really heavy footsteps upstairs in real life, in real time, not just on the digital recorder. And also Dakota sees a light fly by. At the same time, his dad gets an EVP of a man yelling and screaming next to him, even though he didn't hear it in real life. And there was a male EVP that said, "Let me out. I want to go." At the same time as that EVP, not at the same time. That was just one EVP. "Let me out. I want to go." And then two of the cameras at a different time, they both had fresh batteries, and then they died. And then right afterwards, Aaron got really sick, and an EVP got caught of someone saying, "Get off of him," almost as if they were making him sick.
Gross.
So anyway, that was a lot, but that was the Old City Jail in Charleston.
Wow. That was good, Em.
I'm sorry that was
really good.
So long, but
no, I mean, I'm sorry to everybody else because mine's also long. But wow, that was good, Em. That was next level stuff.
Thank you. I that information about Dakota, that was also a deep dive move that I usually wouldn't have done, but I really felt like I'm gonna get some information out of this kid, and then I found out I found a completely different information.
It's like clearly worth it. Wow. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I like to hear, the really random shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Good job. I love that. How's your dry mouth doing?
It's going to be a lot better now that I'm not talking anymore. So.
Okay. I had texted Em earlier and I said, I have a really long story. I said it's a big story.
Yes.
And Em was like, I'm really excited about mine too. So I was like, we're going to have a double whammy here.
Yeah. At least it's a good episode. Like if you're halfway through your road trip already, or like you're halfway through cleaning your bathroom, I hope it's looking great. I hope you're having a good time.
Wow.
Get ready for part 2.
I wish podcasting inspired me to clean, but it certainly does not. Anyway, so this is a story that has also been requested just a shit ton.
Ooh.
I am beyond excited to cover this because it's just one of the more horrible stories.
What is it?
It's the Watts family murders.
I don't know what wait. Oh, I know this. I know this. I was.
Oh, good.
Are we talking about Chris Watts, the guy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know enough
Did you watch the documentary?
No. I will be.
Oh, okay.
I know the very, very, very general story. So you are going to still blow my mind. I'm very excited about this.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Okay.
Oh, this is a big one. So there was a documentary that came out recently on Netflix called American Murder, The Family Next Door. And it was directed by Jenny Popplewell. It's on Netflix. I have watched it twice now, and I don't often watch things twice. So that's saying something. It is one, in my opinion, one of the most compelling true crime documentaries I've ever seen. And I think it's mostly because there's this added level of horror in that they use mostly firsthand footage, like from, so, well, you'll see more, but it's like very,
I think what I'm catching is like, I remember they interviewed him a lot before they found out the truth. And so it's like, you can look at original footage and see like, you could do like a lot of behavioral.
Yeah. There's
analysis.
there's like firsthand stuff from years before anything happened. So a lot of footage from their family, their lives, like before. She used social media a lot. So there's just a ton of like background stuff we get to see as part of this documentary to kind of like flesh out their whole lives before this crime took place.
Got it. And you are going to talk about the ghost, correct?
What? Oh, no. I don't have that in here. I forgot about that.
Okay. We can talk about it at the end. That's the only thing I know because everyone was tagging me in it.
Yeah, we got to do a bonus. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I didn't even think to look that up because the story's already so goddamn long.
That's okay.
Maybe we can do like a bonus thing or something.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just get into it. So even though we are talking about it today, I do recommend highly to see this documentary because just seeing it is way different than just hearing about it. So highly recommend it. So on the morning of Monday, August 14th, 2018, we're in Frederick, Colorado. A woman named Nichol Atkinson decides she's going to text her friend Shanann Watts. Nichol had dropped Shanann off at 2 a.m. the morning before that night, or like that morning.
Yeah.
They had gone to an MLM conference in Arizona.
No comment.
Like a direct sales.
I know she's the victim, so let's not say anything negative.
I think that's a whole nother episode topic. Mm-hmm. So Nichol decides to check in with Shanann because during the trip to Arizona, she had been like really on edge. She hadn't been eating. She hadn't been drinking. And so she was like, I'm just going to check in on her, make sure she's doing okay. So she and Nichol had met selling Thrive, which is an MLM, like a mostly weight loss supplement. They're like these little patches. Their friendship had blossomed because they both had kids a similar age. They would have a lot of play dates with their kids, and they became really close, really good friends. So Shanann was an avid social media user, which is part of the reason that we have so much footage of her and her family. And she responded to texts usually really quickly. So when she didn't respond to Nichole's message, it was a little strange. So Nichol texted her again a half an hour later. And Nichol knew Shanann had a doctor's appointment that morning. So she was like, hey, how'd it go? Nothing, no word from Shanann. So 2 hours go by. She's still not hearing from her. And she's like, something's off. She just feels it. It's like a spidey sense. She's like, I know something's going on.
Sure.
So she texts her, I'm very worried about you. I'm coming to your house. And that was at 11:46 a.m. So Nichol gets to the Watts household at 12:10. Nobody seems to be home, which is odd because Shanann works from home. So she also hadn't responded to any messages still at this point.
Ooh.
So Nichol calls the police and also calls Shanann's husband, Chris, who's 33. And he rushes from his job as an operator for a company called Anadarko Petroleum, which is an oil and gas company. And he had been at work since he left around 5:30 a.m. that morning. So he knew nothing of where Shanann could be, apart from that, the fact that she had a doctor's appointment scheduled and potentially a play date scheduled. So the police arrive around 1:40. And this is kind of where a lot of the footage comes from too, because the police in the documentary, they use police body cam footage from that day to like tell the story. So all of that footage is in it. It's really fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. So cool in its own way, but
right. I gotcha.
So they have this, their body cams on. So you get to watch this all happen, unfold in real time. So they arrive around 1:40. Chris arrives and lets police into the house. Shanann isn't there. The 2 kids aren't there. There is no trace of where they could have gone. The house is immaculate. They soon find Shanann's phone in the house, and Chris says this is her lifeline. She works from home. This is her lifeline. So
Sure.
very weird that it would be at home. And he also comes out of his daughter's rooms and says they left their blankies. Like their blankies are here, which they would never leave the house without. They also find Shanann's purse on the kitchen counter, and Nichol notices that Shanann's lupus medication is in the purse. So she's
like everything she fucking needs is like here. Okay.
Exactly. So she's like, that's even a bigger red flag than the phone. Like she needs her medication.
Right.
So then Chris also finds her wedding ring on the nightstand, but there's no note or anything. The house is clean. So the police kind of go around to neighbors' houses and ask if anyone has like camera footage from an outdoor, like a Ring doorbell or a Nest camera or something. And they find a neighbor who does have some footage. And when they watch it back, the only thing they can see is Chris's car leaving at 5:17 a.m. specifically.
Okay.
And so at this point, they're like, hey, do you have any clue where she could be? And Chris just says, we recently had an emotional conversation, not even a fight, but that's it. That's all I can think of. So now just to give some background on the couple, Shanann and Chris themselves. So the Watts family, they were portrayed, this is very cliche, but they were portrayed as like the perfect, picture perfect family.
Americana, like, bread and butter.
Totally. Like very beautiful, happy, 2 kids. She posted a lot of, like daily, basically vlogged their lives on Facebook. It was just like a constant stream of like what they were doing every day. And she, you know, worked from home for this MLM. So she was posting like those kind of streams. She was posting about the kids and their activities.
I imagine that would be really, really useful as a cop. Like, when like it's like,
and a documentarian.
Okay, that also, yeah, as a filmmaker, it's like, look at all of this footage we have
firsthand. Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, as a cop, you can see like everything about their dynamic, like their back and forth. I mean, we're going to talk about some of it too and how it played into it. And you can see like their life events unfold, their vacations, their
life,
milestones.
Their life.
Yeah, their whole life. So Shanann described in one Facebook video, for example, this is a good example of that Chris had added her on Facebook several years ago, and she thought, what the heck? I'll never meet him. He's just a Facebook friend. I have 1 million of them. And I'm like, so he literally that's how they met. He out of the blue added her on Facebook, which is just, to me, kind of odd. I know some people do that, but
right. And do we find out that there was a reason to that? Like,
no. It's just kind of, he thought she was cute and added her, and like Tinder, I guess.
That's a very like almost MySpace move, or like a Tumblr move of like, I don't have to know you.
It is. And so she said like, oh, I have 1 million of them. And then she says, but the thing about Facebook is then you finally meet the person. And I'm like, well, you usually don't, I would say. Right. I would argue.
How often are you just meeting strangers from Facebook?
Yeah, it seems like not the greatest idea, but I mean, it worked. She and Chris started to date. Apparently she was very like hesitant about it, and she pushed him away a lot. She would always give him an out, but he was like always sticking around. He went to her colonoscopy with her.
Wow.
And as someone who has a partner who went to their colonoscopy, I can tell you that it's much appreciated.
Is it? I've always wanted to, I feel like I would be more uncomfortable. I don't know why.
Well, they're not like watching it, but
it's like, Allison, look me in the eyes while something goes up my tushy. It just be there with me in this moment.
Because you can't drive afterwards, so you don't want to take an Uber home. I mean, you know, like,
I didn't know you couldn't drive after. I guess that.
Well, you're being sedated. Yeah, you know.
As someone who's never had one, I know none of those things have even crossed my mind. But okay,
yeah.
Good to know.
I mean, also Blaze works in medicine, so I mean, maybe it's different, but
I have thought, I was like, if something really traumatic were to happen to any part of my body, I think despite how close you are or Allison is, I was like, I kind of would just want Blaze there and that's it.
Like, I don't blame you for one goddamn second. I don't. I think most of my family would feel that way as well. Like, Christine, you can stay home and watch the cat. Oh my God. So he always stuck around, and then she's like, you know what? He never left my side. He was always there for me. So that's when I knew he was the one. She had already gone through a pretty awful divorce, and she had gone through a really hard time emotionally and had been diagnosed with lupus. And so she'd already gone through like a really, really rough patch. So when she met Chris, it was sort of like this godsend in her mind. And they got married on November 3rd, 2012 in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. And then they moved to Colorado together.
Cool.
So apparently she had been told at one point in her life that she couldn't have kids, but the two of them did have children, and she was like ecstatic. This was all she ever wanted. They had Bella, who was born December 17th, 2013, and Cece, who was born July 17th, 2015.
Okay.
So it's just like this very cliche social media thing of like, oh, they post the sweetest family photos and holiday pictures. And like, it's just, you know, a very sweet family.
Insta perfect.
Insta perfect. Exactly. And she shared how much she like doted on her children, her husband. They had a dachshund named Dieter.
Oh.
He's very cute. And the little girls with the dachshund is just precious. And so the most exciting news that she had shared recently was a video of her surprising Chris with the news that she was pregnant with their third child.
Ooh, okay.
So she wore a shirt that said, "Oops, we did it again," and held the pregnancy, the stick thing.
Yep.
And when he walked in the room, she had like the camera rolling, and it was on Facebook Live, and which is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, yikes.
So when he walked in the room, he's like, "Oh, I like your shirt," and laughs at it, and then kind of realizes like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Really?" It's just a little bit weird. I mean, I don't think anyone would act natural in this scenario. It's kind of awkward, but like, I don't know. It felt weird.
It didn't seem like he was excited, or
yeah, it felt a little cold or like a little bit like apprehensive. Neither of them were very, I mean, she was kind of like, "Hey, look." And he was like, "Oh."
He was just like, "Oh, another one."
Sort of, which, you know, I mean, I'm like, I get they were already, which I'll mention later, in like really big financial debt. So like, I get that it was probably a big stressor. But also this was weird to me. It was just awkward, I guess, and like pretty silent. And she did choose to share it though. So, I mean, who knows? So he looks at the test and says, "So pink means," and she was like, "It means positive."
Like, we've done this before, homie. Like, you know what it looks like.
Well, he goes, "Oh, so, but is it a girl?" And I was like, "Do you really think that?"
Okay, that's the first red flag.
Isn't that weird? I'm like, that's not a thing, right? Like, I mean, I guess it is.
Know. Well, this is kind of outdated now, because in TikTok world, like after 2 weeks, something's outdated. But like a month ago, there was this huge trend where like girls were asking their boyfriends like basic questions about.
Oh, I do remember that.
And like they could not get it together. So like maybe this is one of those things. But like after 2 kids, shouldn't you know like how like when gender can even be announced and all that?
That's the thing that threw me
or
off.
Sex,
is like,
excuse me, not gender, sex.
Right. That's what threw me off is like, you already have 2 of them. Like,
right, you should know how this goes.
You know how the peeing on the stick works at this point. But okay, so you know, who knows? It's just a little bit awkward. But anyway, they're having their third kid, and he had wanted a boy because they had 2 girls. So you know how I said earlier, like, oh, she had this appointment, and Nichol had texted her and she wasn't answering, which is when she knew something was wrong.
Right.
So that appointment was actually an ultrasound appointment. So that's kind of why Nichol was like, she wouldn't miss this appointment. Like, this is not something she would voluntarily miss.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
So she was about 14 or 15 weeks along, according to Chris. And another fact that was not shared on their perfect family social media is that the Watts family was about $400,000 in debt.
Yowza.
So that was not good.
Big bucks. Okay.
Big bucks. And so now she's pregnant again. That's an added stressor, I would imagine.
Which, like, I don't know what that experience is like, finding out that you're gonna have a baby, but I imagine if you are that deep in the red, like 1% of you is scared shitless at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine anytime you're having a baby, there's probably a lot of like apprehension about like your life's changing.
Yeah, how the fuck are we gonna do this? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, exactly. I think it's just when you put everything on the internet for everybody to like parse through and analyze, and you know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But so on August 14th, 2018, which is the day of the disappearance, The police called Chris to get some information about his wife and 2 girls so they can post alerts throughout the neighborhood. And they bring a sniffer dog named Cody.
Cody's my new best friend in this whole story.
I know. Welcome. We're now a trio because, wow, I'm obsessed with him. They brought him to the house, but according to the handler, she is seen in the footage and she says, like, maybe this is just me, but this house seems way too immaculate for like a house basically with 2 kids living in it.
Right. Like something's being covered up or cleaned or...
She just says like, it seems weirdly clean. And then the dog doesn't find anything. So that's kind of where they leave it. So press also interviewed Chris for a missing persons report. And again, you can watch this footage of him on the news basically saying, Shanann, if you hear this, please bring the kids home. I want you home.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, that one's a pretty famous one. And there's definitely a lot of analysis on that online as well, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
And then Chris goes into the police department to be like formally interviewed. So police focus on the quote unquote emotional conversation that he brought up earlier when he's like, it wasn't a fight, it was an emotional conversation.
Okay.
Which now he's calling an emotional argument. So they're like, well, can you tell us more? We're going to pull on that string, basically.
Right.
So apparently a couple months ago, Shanann and the kids had gone to stay with her parents in North Carolina for 6 weeks over the summer. And Chris didn't join because he had to work. And then he joined the last week of the 6-week trip. So for 5 weeks, he was at home alone.
Okay.
So it's kind of a timeline here. So Shanann and the girls flew out to North Carolina in late June. And then July 31st, he came out for a week to join the family. Then they all returned to Colorado after that week. And then on August 10th, Shanann flew to Arizona for the MLM conference.
Damn.
And
travel bug.
Seriously.
Globetrotter.
And then the 14th is when she was dropped off by Nichol. And
got it.
The rest is history.
Yep.
So during this trip to North Carolina, it was basically like the last big family trip before they disappeared. So apparently on this trip, before Chris arrived, Shanann had gotten into an argument with Chris's parents, her in-laws.
Okay.
Not good. Shanann and the kids had gone to visit his parents, who also lived in North Carolina. And Cindy, Chris's mom, brought out ice cream for everyone that contained everything little Cece was allergic to. So she's allergic to a whole lot of ingredients, and the ice cream was like, and this girl's very young, and so this is very dangerous move.
Right, she's not going to know what she can and can't eat and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So Shanann saw this as reckless. She basically accused Cindy. I mean, she like blew up about this. She accused Cindy of basically trying to kill her child. And Cindy was like, it was a harmless mistake. I didn't know about her allergies, which then Shanann was like, how could you not know?
Yeah, you're her grandma and you've been with her. Also, like they were together for like a long time, right? Like
I don't know how long they'd been there. They were visiting one day. So I don't know if they'd been there before or not.
Gotcha.
Because they were there to visit her parents, but then one day they took a trip to visit his parents.
Yes, you did say this.
Which is like when this kind of blew up into this big mess. But yeah, I mean, you'd think that
her grandma might know, especially at least if they're close. Like if, anyway.
You'd think so. So essentially this turns into this huge argument, and Cindy kicks them out of the house. And Shanann sends Chris a text saying, you should call your dad and tell him you did not appreciate your mom putting your daughter at risk today. And Chris replied, I will call him and tell him what I think about this. It's not fucking cool at all because it is the kids. I will set this right.
Okay.
So rift, a little bit of a rift.
Yeah.
One could say. So this was not set right. Unfortunately, on July 15, 2018, it was Cece's birthday party and her grandparents didn't show up. So Chris's parents didn't show up to the party, which I found kind of mean because it's like, it's still your granddaughter, even if you don't agree with your daughter-in-law or whatever. Yeah. If your granddaughter wants you to come to her birthday, it makes me sad that they didn't go.
Like kind of just like get over that little problem and like just go to your grandkids' party.
A lot of people don't agree with their in-laws, right? But I don't know. This is none of my beeswax. This is for M's tea time. I should just shut my mouth.
Yeah, just like anonymously write about it on my tea time, and I'll give you my opinion later.
I might link to this episode and just let you take it. So it just was sad because she's a little girl. She's like super tiny and her grandparents don't show up to her party. And Shanann was clear that they were invited. So it wasn't like she had uninvited them or anything. So that at this point they're thinking, okay, well, maybe this is what pushed Shanann to leave with the kids. Maybe she was like done with his family and like that he wasn't standing up for her. Like maybe that could have been it. And there was actually already a history of family friction or like a rift, I guess, as I said earlier.
Many rifts, maybe
just like a giant
avalanche.
Like crack in yeah, like that earthquake that split up Pangea. Just like,
I was gonna say like the squirrel in Ice Age. Like
yeah,
this was the acorn from Ice Age. This whole family,
yes. And they just kind of got dropped right in. Exactly. So it's like the perfect analogy. Ice Age.
It's like, okay, so how would you describe this family? The acorn from Ice Age. I would just say that.
Oh, it's so good.
Or all the riffs, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's already a rift because, according to Chris, his mom never thought Shanann was, quote, good enough for him, to the point that Chris's family didn't even attend their wedding.
Oh my gosh.
In North Carolina. Like, again, they just didn't show up, which is like, yikes.
Yeah.
And apparently they were like, police were like, well, why doesn't she like, or why don't they like Shanann? Like, you know,
what's the deal?
Why don't they think she's good enough? And he was like, well, they thought that she took me away from them a little bit, and they were mad that we moved to Colorado. And I'm like, that is not enough of a fucking reason.
But also, it's kind of backwards of like, you know, oh well, they feel like I got taken away, and so now they're pushing away from the time that they do have with me. Like that doesn't really totally make sense.
No, it doesn't, and it's like I mean it's hurt. It sounds hurtful to me. Like I don't know. I don't think that's. It just seems like very. Wow, this is a shock of the century. I don't think this is a healthy family.
Yeah. Okay.
To put it mildly.
Correct.
It's the acorn from Ice Age.
Talk about another acorn. Wow, this squirrel is just hoarding them.
So anyway, so there's this family rift already happening. It's just getting worse because now Shanann's trying to visit with the grandkids and it's blowing up. She's getting kicked out of the house. It's just bad. But now they're missing. And so Chris is now in this awkward position. And police are like, at this point, they're like, well, does your gut feeling tell you that Shanann and the kids walked out or were they taken out? And Chris replies, at first, I really thought maybe she was just at somebody's house just decompressing. But after today, with the onslaught of all the police cars, all the news, all the canine units, it's making me lean the other direction that someone took her. But if someone took her, it would have had to have been someone she knew because there's no sign of anything like being disturbed or broken.
Right. Like according to this storyline, according to the current storyline, Nichol dropped her off at like 2 a.m. and then 3 hours later he went to work. Right.
Yeah.
So there was like, which I assume the cops at some point have asked him like, oh, when you left, was she in bed or something? So
Right. And that was, he said like the last time he saw her was she was in bed. He went to work. No clue what happened.
Right. Okay.
Except he knew about the doctor's appointment, yada, yada.
Okay.
Exactly. So that was kind of, and the timeline is backed up by the video footage. There's doorbell footage of her walking into the house with her suitcase at 2 a.m. and there's video footage of his truck leaving the driveway.
Weird. So then, well, I guess maybe I'll get to it. Never mind. It's
a mystery.
I was gonna say like, well then I know you're gonna get to it. Don't worry.
I know, but that's the part where you're like, what the like. I'm so excited to answer the questions.
Okay, good. Well, tell me, my little crazy squirrel, my little, just juggling all the acorns for me right now.
You know how bad I am at juggling. Don't bring it up. Okay. So anyway. So on the topic of this, of relationships, the interviewer kind of takes a turn and he says to Chris, hey, so you've lost some weight and you've kind of gotten really fit. And then he says, quote, you can imagine when guys start cheating or want to cheat, that's what happens. And Chris is like, I've never cheated on my wife. He makes that very clear. And he says, I was 245 pounds and now he's about 180. So he's so
he didn't just lose some weight. He
he got like buff, like he got jacked, like he works out a lot, which is also part of, you see all the Facebook Live stuff and like his routine has a lot of exercising involved now.
Gotcha.
So he keeps insisting, like, no, I would never cheat. And they call his supervisor, Luke Eppel, at work, who says he's never indicated or said anything to me that would make me think that he was cheating. So they're like, okay, that's kind of a dead end for right now. So they're kind of stopping on that front, but it turns out, after going through some text messages between Shanann and her friends, Shanann was still concerned about Chris's loyalty. So even though he's swearing up and down he had nothing, his boss is saying, no, he was loyal to his wife as far as I could tell. Text messages from Shanann to her friends indicate that she was suspicious. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
So during her trip to North Carolina, she had a lot of exchanges with friends and with Chris. He kept claiming to have missed or not seen her calls and FaceTimes. And she sent one text that reads, "Forget not getting my calls. You fucking call your kids when you wake up. You have not called one time since we've been here on your own." So he keeps apologizing. He's like, oh, the FaceTime call went to my work phone. I didn't see it. It's just a lot of excuses.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, just a lot of BS. And he's like, I'll call the following morning. But it's like, your 2 kids are gone for 6 weeks. Like, you think you'd call every now and then.
Yeah, just
I would think.
check in.
Just to at least say hello.
Every couple days, just to say what's going on. Yeah.
And unfortunately, even when he joined them finally in North Carolina for that last week, things did not improve. This is, again, all on video. She has him arriving at the airport. She has them going to the beach, taking the kids to the beach for the first time, all on camera. And Chris had become very cold and standoffish. She texted her friend, quote, "He kissed me once since he's been here. That was at airport. I kissed him. No grabbing my ass, hugging, or anything. I want to cry." And then another text which reads, "Kids in bed. I took a night shower. Means I want sex and he knows it. He's over here doing fucking..." Oh, sorry. It says ducking because of the autocorrect. But just to clarify. That's the most relatable part of this whole story.
That's probably the one part I absolutely can be like, oh, I've been there.
I'm like, no one has ever meant to type ducking.
Right,
okay?
right.
Apple. Jesus. Okay. He's over here doing ducking push-up challenge instead of discussing anything or fucking me. I'm over here crying in silence. He's never been like this. 5.5 ducking weeks, no sex, unless he was getting it somewhere else. So she's pissed and scared because she's like, he's not even like coming near me.
Right.
However, Chris was adamant that he was not with anyone else. And her friends were like, hey, maybe he's just having a tough time. Like, he wouldn't cheat on you. Just like, you know, stay strong, yada, yada. So before she left for her work trip, they got back to Colorado, and then she was going to that MLM conference. And she had written him a note, and they show the whole handwritten note. I'm not going to read the whole thing on the video or on the documentary, but it included, "I miss holding you. These last 5 weeks have been so hard. I missed watching you play with the kids. I don't want to lose you ever. I will be civil and get along with your mom. We just all need to have mutual respect. I will do anything for you. The last thing on earth is for you to hurt. You deserve the world, and I don't like it when you hurt. It hurts me. I will fight for our marriage." So like,
so remind me, that was a letter that that she left for him.
Yeah, so she wrote that letter before the MLM conference.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay. And do we know that she actually wrote this?
Yeah, she wrote it to him when they got back to Colorado, and she's like, "I'm heading on a work trip. You're watching the kids." And she said, she texted him, "Your letter's on the counter," and that was the letter that
I don't know if
she left.
If he faked it or something.
Oh no! That was like a letter she had written before, like a week before all of this.
Got it.
So, clearly, Shanann is like wanting to make this right and work on this,
right?
And
is committed to the relationship.
Yes, fully. And I remember she's also pregnant with their 3rd kid.
So right.
It's like,
so ultra committed currently. Yeah.
Yeah. So back to present day. Fast forward, the investigation. No sign of Shanann, no sign of the kids. Police are canvassing their flyers, news broadcasts, with headlines like "Pregnant Woman Vanishes with 2 Daughters." They're asking for any signs, any clues from neighbors. And then about 2 days after the disappearance on August 15th, Chris has agreed to come in for a polygraph test. So this test is conducted by Agent Tammy Lee.
Okay.
And we like Agent Lee.
Oh, okay.
So she welcomes Chris. I just love watching this footage because it's just like you just can see what's going on, and she's just such a badass. So she welcomes Chris to the test, and she's very nice, very calm, and she says, "I want you to have confidence in the fact that you had nothing to do with this disappearance. We're going to find that out today. And obviously, I mean, I hope that you know that if you did have something to do with their disappearance, it would be really stupid for you to come in here and take a polygraph today."
Yeah.
Right? Like, it would be really dumb. Like, you should not be here right now sitting in this chair if you had anything to do with Shanann and the little girl's disappearance, okay?
I love it. I love it.
And she's like patting his arm, like just being very like comforting. And she says, "The coolest thing about this is right now there's only one person in this room that knows what the truth is, and in about 5 minutes there's going to be 2 of us. That's the coolest part, okay?" So I'm like, he's given the full spiel of like, this is what this means. And you're about to take.
She did a great job of making it look like he was the good. Like, I mean, like typical, you know, badass woman of like making the guy look like it's his. He made the decision himself, but really she's like, it's up to me.
Yeah, she's
we're
like,
gonna get this out.
Cool? Isn't this really cool and exciting?
That I'm gonna find out whatever I need to in a second, but it's all up to you. However you.
This is your game, right?
Yeah.
So the questions begin with, is your first name Christopher? Just obviously baseline questions. And then they delve into, did you physically cause Shanann's disappearance? Chris says no. Are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann? Chris says no. And then she has to stop the test. And she says, your breathing is all over the place. Like, calm down, take a breath. Shit. Let's like start over.
Which
basically.
Like it could have been, if he were to be innocent, like he's still having to talk about like his missing wife and children, so the breathing is understandable.
I think even the fact that the baseline wasn't getting like, because he was so all over the place. Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was a reliable start because he was all over the place. Because like, if you're already freaking out about what's your name. Yeah.
I just like side note, one of like my dream jobs I've always wanted is to be a polygraph examiner.
Really?
Always. I like only like 2 weeks ago I was like looking at like polygraph college. Just because like
polygraph college.
It's like like you have to take like all these courses and get like truly certified and all that. But like it's gonna be one of those things that never happens. But part of me is always like,
that's the most Gemini thing I've ever heard. I just want to have the power to find out if people are lying. I just want
to know, you know, what's out there. I want to know what.
I don't want you to have that power over me.
It's like one of those things where I think like, damn, in another life I would have definitely tried to do that. But
that would be cool.
I don't think I can though, because I think at least the programs I was looking at, you have to have specific like psychology backgrounds before you.
I wonder
if
you have to have like any legal forensic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to have like a forensic degree to even get into polygraph stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get that.
Yeah, so, maybe once you're medicated for another couple weeks, you'll get into it.
Bingo.
What if you just started college? You were like, actually, I've gone back to college, Christine.
Now, like, what's so funny about college is like, now that I'm out of it, now I realize all the classes I wish I took.
I know, that's very frustrating. But that's why we have Skillshare. I literally take Skillshare courses that I think to myself, I wish I could have taken this. That's not a joke.
Skillshare, I would like you to open up a polygraph course, please.
Polygraph branch.
Thank you.
Oh boy. So speaking of the badass polygraph examiner, so Agent Lee said, I don't think she's the examiner. I don't know. She's asking the question, so maybe. I don't know. Whatever. So she says, start over. Your breathing's all over the place. They get back on track, and she finishes the interview with the question, do you know where Shanann is now? To which Chris replies, no. So she leaves the room with the data, and the next time we see her is when she returns with another agent.
Uh-oh.
And Agent Lee opens with, so it is completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test, okay? So now we need to talk about what actually happened, and I feel like you're probably ready to do that. But despite this, Chris is like, I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise, to which the other agent says, Chris, time to stop, which I love.
Wow.
And then there's the nail in the coffin, which is Agent Lee saying, there's a reason you feel sick to your stomach. When people hold stuff inside, it makes you physically ill. And I can just tell from your face. I could tell from the second that you walked in that you were wanting to just come clean and be done with this.
Wow. I love her. She was like, she knew, she was like, I'm going to manipulate this guy. Like, I'm going to pretend like I'm all sweet and sugar coated, but I already know this guy's fucking guilty.
The power is just beautiful.
The power. That's what I want from this polygraph course.
Oh boy. So eventually in a burst of confession, Chris says, I've been cheating on Shanann. And they're like, okay. But they're also like, yeah, we know.
It's like, first of all, we knew. Second of all, that's arguably not the worst thing that is going to come out of your mouth today.
Yeah,
so
that's not quite where we were headed, but I guess it's a good start.
Yeah.
So he admits that he's been cheating, and the police already know this. And they had not asked about it in the polygraph, so it wasn't that. But they had already heard from a woman named Nichol.
Oh, the one who dropped her off?
A different Nichol. So that's where this gets a little bit like confusing. A lot of Nichols spelled in a lot of wild ways. So plot twist is police already knew this. So they revealed that earlier in the day, they received a phone call from someone with crucial information. This person is one Nicole Kessinger. Okay. And she is Chris's girlfriend, whom he had been cheating on Shanann with. And so we have Nicole Atkinson was the friend who dropped her off and is like her BFF. Okay. And then we have Nicole, who's the other woman.
Right.
So I'm not sure the best way to go about
this. How are each Nicole spelled?
Okay. The first Nicole is spelled, I think it was spelled Nichole.
Okay. And then what's the second one?
This one is Nichol.
So there's Nicole with a K and a Nicole with an H. I don't know if that's even... I'm trying to think of ways to define them. Okay, there's MLM Nicole and then there's girlfriend Nicole.
Yes, girlfriend Nicole. Okay, yes, good idea.
That's how we'll do this.
Okay, good. So there's like, MLM, BFF, Nicole, and then like the...
There's BFF and then there's GF. Yeah.
GF, yeah. So Nicole GF, Kessinger, prefaces her interview with the fact that no one, including Chris, knows that she had come into the police station, but she thinks Chris is a really good guy and she's worried about his wife and his kids. So they had actually met in June of that year, so it's August. They'd met in June as co-workers at Anadarko, and Chris had told Nicole that he had 2 daughters, but had also framed his marriage that he was in the process of separating and that he was sleeping in the basement and that they weren't together anymore, which is total bullshit. I mean, he made that up completely. And Nicole actually only found out through the media that Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant. So she didn't even know that this was... So it actually adds a lot to when he found out that she was pregnant. He was already sleeping with this other woman.
No, that makes total sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just adds a whole layer.
Because he was thinking he's probably also thinking, this is on Facebook Live. What if in some way my girlfriend sees me on Facebook Live right now being told
that too. Yeah.
Like,
and you're wondering like, oh, is he going to find a way out, like a divorce? And then suddenly she's like, now we're having another baby. It's like, that complicates things.
But girlfriend Nicole probably thought like, oh, he's separating. And a lot of people date when they're separated. So
exactly. So he said, oh no, like we're separated. I'm sleeping in the basement. We're in the process of getting a divorce. All bullshit. So she didn't even know Shanann was pregnant. And when she found this out on the media, she was like, okay, I got to tell the police like my part in this and let them know that, what I know. So it turns out Chris had spent not only the weeks while Shanann was in North Carolina with Nicole, but had also seen her on Saturday while Shanann was away on her work trip with her Nicole. So with MLM Nicole.
They were both with different Nicoles.
Nicoles, exactly. Yeah. These troublemaker Nicoles, I tell you. Shanann did have an inkling that something was up that weekend because she told her BFF Nichol that Chris had booked a babysitter and said he was going to a Rockies game with some friends. But when Shanann checked their joint bank account, she noticed he had spent $63 for his dinner at Lucky Dog Cafe. And she was like, that's a lot for one person's portion.
Right.
So she asked him like, oh, what did you have? And he said, a salmon and a beer. And so she did the very...
a salmon that was also once king. Yes.
The king salmon. Yes. So she did the thing that you and I would do, which is look up the menu and calculate how much it would actually cost to get a salmon and a beer. Yep. And it was not anywhere near $63. So turns out he and Nicole had actually been on a date, which obviously she didn't know that, but she was like, something is off.
Yeah.
So Nicole had come in and revealed all this information. And so police didn't have to ask him about her in the polygraph because they already knew this information from her. So although obviously it was admirable for her to come in and say like and help move the case along, it is worth noting that we also know now about her internet search history before she went in.
Ooh, okay.
And I originally learned this from the Crime Junkie episode on this case. And it turns out that on July 24th, so this was like several weeks before the disappearance, she Googled, "Man I'm having an affair with says he will leave his wife." On August, and to be clear, she had deleted all of this before going into police.
So that looks shady.
Yeah, she deleted all of the information and all the texts and everything. So it's like she probably felt a little weird about obviously admitting all of this. On August 4th, she searched for over 2 hours for wedding dresses.
Ooh, okay.
So she was in a different
headspace. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She had quick plans. She had very intense plans coming up.
She had intense is the right word. On August 8th, she searched for topics related to marrying your mistress.
Uh-oh.
And after the murders on August 13th and 14th, there were hours and hours worth of searches for Shanann's name and can cops trace text messages. So she's probably like
ironic that
I know. They're like, that's fun. It's like very meta.
Yeah.
They also found thousands of photos hidden in a fake calculator app on Chris's phone, which were of her nude, semi-nude, like bikinis, just like,
I remember discovering that app and my mind being blown.
Isn't that creepy?
I have a friend who has that app, but like it's just for like it was when we were teenagers, or not teenagers, but I guess in college. And he was like, in case my mom ever borrows my phone, I don't want her to like see my nudes. So
it's not like for nefarious purposes.
No. Well, okay. I guess whatever you deem nudes that you're just sending to people.
Saying you don't want your mom to see nudes is not that's doing God's work, in my opinion. But hiding your nudes from your mom. In terms of that, though, I thought it was a genius app. Like you get to like pick your own like math equation you type in, and it's like the password. And I was like, that's so smart. Yeah, there's also one for domestic violence victims that's like disguised. I think it's like a pizza app or something that you can like order pizza from, and it anyway. So smart. I don't know the name of it.
So smart.
So I don't know if you know who Amber Fry is. She was the quote unquote mistress in the Lacey Peterson, Scott Peterson case. Oh, okay. So that's only relevant because Nichol had also been searching Amber Fry and did people hate Amber Fry?
Oh, shit. Well, a little too late for that.
She's like in that position now. She's like
the Amber Fry of the story.
Mm-hmm. So after that, this is where she doesn't look as good. She also searched what kind of book deal Amber Fry got.
Oh, no.
That's not a good look.
That's not cute. Not a cute look.
Not a cute look, especially when this whole family is like missing and potentially dead. So anyway... There was a note that Chris had written to Nichol while his family was in North Carolina that said, "Nikki, wow, where do I even start? The first day I saw you, you took my breath away. The first day I had the guts to talk to you, I got lost in those stunning eyes. The first day we hung out in the park together, I knew I was addicted. The first time we kissed, I knew I'd met the most amazing, unique, and electric woman ever. We have a lot of firsts together, Nikki, and I want to keep having them with you." And then, quote, "All night till the sun comes back. I want to love you like that. Love, Chris." And as a closeted pop country lover, I remember when that song came out, and I feel kind of gross about it now.
Yeah.
That's by Kanan Smith, circa 2014. I guess that's their song. So if it's your song too out there,
that poor country singer is like, motherfucker. Like
he's like, come on, I just wanted one hit single.
I just wanted to make it on the radio. Now you got to make it weird.
You gotta, God, Chris is always gonna make it weird.
Yeah.
So then this is where shit kind of hits the fan in the actual interview itself, because they're like, "We already know you're cheating." Like Nichol contacted us. And at this point he gets really upset, and Agent Lee whips out a picture of Cece and Bella and says, "These are your baby girls and you have not shed one tear. Explain to me, you're crying with your wife that you're leaving her, but you don't cry that your two little baby girls are missing."
Right.
And he says, "Well, I hope they're still around somewhere." And she's like, "But they're not with you. You're not reading them bedtime stories. Like, they're not here, and you don't seem upset. Explain it to me." And then the investigators pushed back at him and said, "Did Shanann do something to them? And then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?" And he is so agitated that he says, I want to talk to my dad. Can I talk to my dad? And it turns out his dad had flown from across the country to be there. So they're like, okay, we'll leave the room. You talk to your dad. Can you please tell your dad what happened? They send his dad in, and this all, again, on camera.
I was going to say, please, God, I hope this was recorded.
All recorded. I mean, they were probably like, great, yeah, talk to your dad.
Please, let's make you feel safe here.
Yes. So this is the conversation. Chris says, I don't want to protect her. And Chris's dad said, do you know what happened? Did she hurt them? And Chris said, yeah. And then I had to kill her. Ooh. So he then reveals to his dad that Shanann had smothered the children. And then he freaked out when he saw them and did the same thing to her.
Oh, shit.
So this poor dad is just like, wait, what? Like, totally. His grandchildren are dead.
Oh, my gosh.
His son did it. Killed his daughter-in-law. It's like just such a horrifying moment to watch. So then, of course, the two agents come back in the room and they're like, all you have to, and she's like rubbing his back and she's like, now you just have to tell us where they're at so we can get them out of the cold. Yeah. Which is just like heartbreaking. He reveals that his family is at the oil site that he had been working at called Survey 319. And that was a location he had driven to at 5:17 in the morning.
Oh,
with
yikes.
them in the truck. So he hadn't been driving to work. He was disposing the bodies. He buried Shanann in a field nearby and then put his daughters in an oil tank. And there was like a tiny hole that he was able to put them in. And Shanann didn't fit, and so he buried her body.
And so
it's
where was
really horrific?
Where was the doorbell footage of that? Like, wouldn't they have had he like
garage?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
so there was footage of his car leaving the garage driveway.
I see.
In the dark. But interestingly enough, in the early footage, the neighbor says like he never parks in the driveway. He always parks on the street. So he's like, he's never, like the neighbor was like, something's up. Also, he's talking a lot. Like, this isn't normal. Which I'm like, that neighbor knew it.
That also makes me, well, that's like, it's like key evidence right there. But also it makes me think then like, so he, if he already parked in the garage and not on the street, then he went into the house that night planning to kill her, not knowing about the children. That's what it sounds like.
Wait, sorry, say again.
So if he was saying like, oh, well, she came home and then I saw that she strangled the kids or smothered the kids. I would think, so he parked on the street because he always does, went in and then saw that versus like, oh, I'm going to, like, I feel like driving into the garage shows intent before he even went into the house. So that story wouldn't line up.
Oh, good point. That's a good point. Like, why would the car be in the garage already?
Unless he already planned on killing her, not knowing whether or not she smothered children.
That's an interesting point. I will say, though, that I'm sure it was not the only time he parked in the garage. I feel like it was, like the neighbor said, oh, he always parks on the street. I feel like it probably wasn't like, oh, he's never parked in the garage.
It's just before. Like, it's more common. But yeah, I don't know. It just makes me think like.
Yeah, you're right. Like, that is weird. That is weird that it would already be. Like unless he moved it into the garage.
Maybe. But it seems like he knew, like he had a plan and didn't want the doorbell, or he didn't want the ring or whatever he used to see it.
Yeah. That's very weird. I hadn't thought of that, Em. That's a good point.
Well, I am a detective.
So the interviewers are like, okay, we need more information from you. And she says, you're good with the public knowing that Shanann killed her daughters? And he says, I did not hurt those girls. And Agent Graham says, what it looks like is that you got a new life, and the only way to get the new life was to get rid of the old life. And I think that you killed these girls before their mom came home and then killed Shanann. Wow. I think we're very close to the truth, but not quite there yet. So the news broke that publicly that Chris had confessed to the killing of Shanann. And they hold a press conference. There's this really sad vigil for the whole family where her brother Frankie says a few words. It's very heartbreaking. And it's just awful because, you know, at this point Chris is alleging that Shanann had murdered her own children, and her family is like having this vigil, and they're like, just so you all know, like, my sister would never ever ever hurt her children. Right. So they're having to defend her at her own vigil.
It's awful.
And so 3 months later, November 6, 2018, Chris Watts was found guilty of murder in the first degree as to Shanann Watts, murder in the first degree as to Bella, murder in the first degree as to Celeste, and unlawful termination of a pregnancy as it relates to Nico Watts, which was the name of their little boy that they were having. And 3 counts of unlawful tampering with a deceased human body. So he pled guilty to all of the above in order to not face a death penalty, and also because he fucking did it.
Also, here's a fucked up question. Yeah. So do we think maybe he suggested the baby name and got it from the girl he was sleeping with behind his wife's back?
Nico and Nichol. Ew.
Do you think he suggested it and like it was like actually going to be like after his mistress or something? It's too close. Know, the name is too close. He had to have thought about it.
But also she had a Nichol too, so maybe she was
That's true. I don't know.
After my friend.
Ew,
that's weird.
Too many names that sound the same here.
Why is everyone named Nichol? Okay, that's the real question. What's wrong? Are we adding a new Meghan to the list? Oh,
yeah, and why are all the Nichols here like spelled like with like umlauts and shit?
Seriously, join the Meghans. Yeah. All right. So it was only on February 18th, 2019. I want to also add that the judge made a statement after he had pled guilty that said, "This is the most inhumane and vicious case that I've handled out of the thousands of cases which I have seen, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense."
Wow.
So in February, like months later, an agent goes to talk to Chris in a follow-up interview in jail. And Chris finally tells a story of what happened that night.
Ooh, okay.
And it's very dark. So I want to warn you, it's very upsetting to hear, especially if you're watching the documentary, to hear him say it out loud. So I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
Shanann got home at like 2:00. I just had a feeling like she knew what I did. Saturday night was the last straw, going out with somebody and using our actual bank account card and just not trying to hide it at all. I felt her get into bed. She started rubbing her hand on me and we ended up having sex. When I woke up later on in the morning, I pretty much told her I didn't think it was going to work anymore. And she was like, "What happened? What was last night?" She was like, "I knew there was somebody else." I couldn't just say, "Yes, there is somebody else." Then she said, "You're never going to see your kids again. You're never going to see them again. Get off me." If I'd never met Nikki Kessinger, would I have ever thought our relationship was bad? Probably not. I told her I didn't love her anymore. That's when it happened. She told me to get off her, and then I put my hands around her. I felt like it was already something in my mind that was implanted. I was going to do it when I woke up that morning, and I was going to do it when I woke up that morning, and it was going to happen. I had no control over it. Why couldn't I just let go? Then Bella came into the room. She asked, "What's wrong with mommy?" She had her little pink blanket over her. Shanann was on the bed, but she was face down. I put Shanann in that sheet and carried her downstairs and pulled my truck up. Oh, so he pulled the truck up, I guess.
Okay. Well, there's that.
After all that
mystery. Oh my gosh.
My bad. I think now I feel like such an ass because I think in the footage he says he never loads stuff into his truck. So maybe he was like, "Oh, I load some stuff for work." So maybe that's what it was. Okay. Sorry. I've just made that way more complicated than I needed to be. I put the girls in the truck sitting in the back with that bench seat. Shanann was on the floor. The kids said, "Is mommy okay?" I said, "She'll be fine." When I was driving up there, they were just sitting there kind of asleep or kind of just holding on to each other, laying in each other's laps. Okay, this is just where it gets fucking awful. Honestly, I try to picture that whole ride. It's like 45 minutes to an hour ride out there. Couldn't I have saved my girl's life? I wanted all my life to be a dad, just to have, kids, and they love me. When we got out there, Cece was first. I put the blanket over her head. Bella said, "What happened to Cece?" Every time I close my eyes, I start to see her saying, "Daddy, no," and that was it.
Oh, yikes.
So that was his full confession of what happened. It's like truly one of the most dark, disturbing tales I've covered. I will say Shanann's family and a lot of other people don't agree with this story because Shanann's dad, Frank, said, "My daughter, even though she was pregnant, is a fighter. I still say he did this while she was sleeping because he would not look the way he looks right now if she was up." Because they said like, "Oh, didn't she fight back?" And he said, "No, she just laid there." And everyone was like, "If you were choking her to death, like we know her. She wouldn't just lay there. Like she would have scratched you." And there's photos like he has not one scratch on him. So a lot of people think he did it while she was sleeping. And it wasn't even an argument. He just was like, "I'm doing this right now." And that was that. So anyway, that puts like all the body cam footage and everything where he's going, "I don't know, here's her phone and the blankies," like into such new grim perspective. It's just really fucked up. So obviously the thing most people can't wrap their heads around is like the motive of like, well, can't you just make a fucking get a fucking divorce.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
like, couldn't you just walk away from this relationship?
So unnecessary. And after he had disposed of the bodies, he had made several phone calls right away. He unenrolled the kids from school. He contacted a realtor to try and sell the house.
He had like plans. He was going.
Yeah. And then he had even texted Nichol about their future together. Like, yeah, he was on it. So she, for her sake, I believe went into witness protection program. So I guess she's not a Nichol anymore. So maybe she's a Meghan now. Who knows?
She's absolutely a Meghan. Well, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that just sucks to get drawn into that. You're like, oh, I'm just dating a guy at work. And then it's like, well, apparently not.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse than that. So this is like that whole family annihilator thing we've talked about in the past of like, there's a whole psychological thing behind family annihilators. And so according to Good Housekeeping, Chris is continuing to live out his sentence in Wisconsin. He was transferred there because of security concerns. I mean, he murdered his own little children. I don't think that bodes well for you in jail.
Nope.
So there's a book written last September by a woman named Sherilyn Cadle called Letters from Christopher. And he basically writes to her about how he murdered his family and about his obsession with Nichol. And he says, quote, "All I could feel was now I was free to be with Nikki. Feelings of my love for her was overcoming me. I felt no remorse. The darkness inside of me had won. It was still in me, though. I thought maybe permanently. I felt evil, swallowed up by this thing inside of me. I felt like I could kill anything and be justified for doing it."
Holy shit. Wow.
So, woof. So Shanann's family, they've been like bullied and harassed endlessly online. People have made fake accounts of Shanann. There's so much victim blaming. It's disgusting. It made my stomach turn. There's like footage of people on TV talking about it and being like, oh, she drove him to snap. Like she was a bitch. Like she was so controlling. And I'm like,
oh my God.
It's bad. It's really bad. And so her poor family has dealt with like a lot of fucking harassment. People make fake Shanann Facebook accounts. It's like really terrible. But they, for what it's worth, they recommended this documentary and said they were really thankful they got to be a part of it. And they think it's like one of the only ones that have given Shanann like her own side of the story and not shown her as like some, I don't know, evil controlling bitch that made him snap, which is like, that's not a thing, but whatever. So anyway, it's all just very fucking sad. The end of the documentary finishes with like, just, this is the statistic we end on, which is that in America, 3 women are killed by their current or ex-partner every day. Parents who murder their children and partner are most often men. And this crime is virtually always premeditated. So I also want to add, just as a last note, if you or someone you know is the victim of domestic violence, you can visit thehotline.org, and they offer fully confidential 24/7 support.
Yes. And I think they also have a texting situation where if you're, I think it's one of their apps or one of their earlier apps at least, where you can text them, and then if you close out of the app, it completely deletes. It like goes incognito. Yeah. So if your phone gets grabbed from you, they can't see what you were doing.
When you go to that website, it has a pop-up window and says like, do not proceed to this website if you don't want anyone to see your computer. If anyone's going to look at your computer, you don't want them to know. Get off this website and text this number. Yeah. Right, exactly. Because they're like, even if you wipe your browser history, as Nichol learned, like they can still see it. People can, find a way to look at it. So yeah, exactly. So if you do go to the website, they give you that number as well. If that's
and then the last little thing, I don't think there was too much information about it. It just went viral because it was in this documentary. But apparently, I haven't seen the documentary, so I'm probably going to take it completely out of context. But there was footage of Chris. There was a ghost aspect to this, and that in the documentary there was footage of Chris kind of talking in his house with the police. I think it was with the police. And
it was the body cam footage, yeah.
And and you can see it for yourself in the documentary. Behind him, right in the middle of the doorway, there is definitely a little girl walking past the doorway.
And there's like something flashes by.
It's definitely a human body, which is super creepy. So everyone swears this is like some of the most like convincing paranormal evidence. A lot of people have said like, oh, maybe like someone on set brought their kid for the day and like hid them, like tucked them away into another room or or not on set because it was literally a movie. Some like one of the cops.
I was like, sorry, police.
Sorry. One of the cops had like their kid with them on quote set. Sorry, in their house.
Well, I wonder too because Nichol was there. I don't know if she brought her kids. I mean, maybe,
right.
but I don't think so.
The story has been that they're tucking their kids away, or that someone that was there tucked their kids away while they were talking to police. But a lot of people are like, no, that's like for sure. Like, I think a lot of people want to believe it's the ghost of the kids.
Yeah, I haven't. Oh my
Sorry,
gosh.
wow, my filmmaking brain fine. On set. Oh, it was the people on set that day. What was wrong with me? The police were on fucking set.
Only watched it one time, but I had also seen it.
I've definitely seen that one clip because everyone tagged me in it, and it is.
Yeah.
If it is a ghost, it's very fucking creepy.
Oh, here we go. A lot of people think it's Nicole's daughter. Okay.
Nicole's daughter. Okay. Or like the director, the producer on set. What was wrong with me?
Yeah. So. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so it's possible, or it could be the daughter. I'm not sure. It looks like people debate it, but I've only seen it one time. I don't even remember. But You can let us know what you think.
Yeah,
online.
I'm sure we're gonna get tagged in it all over again with this episode now. So
yes.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for this very long episode.
Sorry,
but you know what? Hopefully you had a good time. We had a good time, and we're just leading up to the big 200.
The big 200.
So if you would like to follow us, our social is ATWWD Podcast. Our website is that'swhydrink.com. You can find pretty much everything on those two things.
That's right. You can find us there, and we will see you next week.
For 199.
For 199.
And then 200. Okay.
And then 200.
And
that's
why
we
drink. Yay!